HS Automotive. This week, we have a very special guest from, you can tell us about your school, Pete, but it's Pete Raskovic, and he is a how many year automotive technician?
Well, this is my 27th year as an ASE certified master technician.
Wow. And you went from doing that and racing to being an educator, and and not just an educator where you've gone in and are working in like an OEM program to teach other people how to be a technician. You are actually in the high schools.
Correct. Right. It's a high school program. Basically, I was a dealership technician. Spent 17 years in a dealership. Worked my way through college at night. Two-year associate's degree. And then graduated from the University of Wisconsin. Doing that at night, working at a dealership technician during the day. And I left the shop full time and went to work for an automotive aftermarket parts manufacturer in New York, Standard Motor Products, as a tech trainer, as one of their national tech trainers. And after that, had just such a great time. Spent time racing during the whole time, never stopped. It was basically my neighbor back when I was 13 years old. Mom and dad separated, and I was a kid like any other boy trying to figure out life, what I'm going to do. And 13, 14 years old, working at a gas station pumping gas, and my neighbor Bob Parvin had a race team, Eastern Dirt modified team in Pennsylvania, where I was from, and I bugged him. Said, Bob, let me go to the races with you. No, I'll just clean up around the shop. And finally, he got permission from my mom to take me, and I was just really wired. Got to the track, and what do I do? What do you want me to do? Get tires over to Shack? What do you need me to do? He handed me $10, and he said, go figure out what the guys want, coffee or soda, and that's your job all night. I looked at him like, here I am, 14 years old. I'm like, you kidding me? But that's really what sparked my interest. Bob was a General Motors technician, progressed up through service manager, and then ultimately did a buy-in and retired as a partial dealer principal. So it was a pretty interesting career. Had a lot of success at a young age. Just enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the trade. Enjoyed the people. Always wanted to know more. You got to be a lifelong learner in this business. And working as a tech trainer for a few years, it just you wake up one morning and say, this is really good. This is really good. I really enjoyed my career, and how can I pass that on? To pay my mentors back, and really to pay the industry back that had been so good to me at a young age. I basically took a huge pay cut to go into public education. I started teaching in Pennsylvania in the vocational technical system, and along with teaching partner, a real charismatic gentleman, master technician Steve Bruno, we built one of Pennsylvania's premier automotive programs in a matter of about 6-7 years. And how I wound up in Wisconsin, my wife is from Wisconsin, so happy wife, happy life. And she wanted to move back here, and I had an opportunity. School district of Beloit actually recruited me. And, the rest was really, I got here, and we had a lot of work to do. But the program that we built is the only ASE NATEF Master Certified high school trainer in Wisconsin. And it is also an AYES, Automotive Youth Educational Systems affiliate school, or AYES certified, which, I don't know how much the audience knows about AYES, but it is underwritten by GM, Chrysler, Mini, Subaru, Toyota, BMW, Mercedes, and Rolls-Royce. And they put quite a bit of money in there, and they provide us as instructors with the tools that we need, vehicle, parts, and service information, gratis. And we have a really awesome conference every year, and they rotate that around the country. But I mean, guests like in the past, Dr. Dieter Zetcha didn't get there in person, but he was on video. The guy was just great. But Joe Hilger from Chrysler, we got these guys are regulars. We had Don Gray there before. Don Gray actually founded AYES, and a lot of top level executives from our dealer partners, our manufacturer partners, and it's about 600-700 people generally show up to it, and the execs they do their thing. Tell us about what we'll get a lot of product information, but most importantly, it's a recharge for us as instructors. To get back out there. Anyway, the benefit of the AYS program is that we actually are training students for industry. For our dealer partners, there's a huge shortage of technicians nationally, and now with the economy in a slump, we used to say, when the economy's booming, we're selling new cars and we're making a lot of money even at the back end of the dealership and the service bays, doing all the PDIs and adding the optional equipment, which we used to do a lot of, the add-ons. And when the economy's bad, people are keeping their cars and they're servicing and maintaining them, and things are good. This has kind of been the exception to the rule this last 3-4 year period. We're seeing a lot of a big lull in the in the back end of the business as far as the service work. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's hurt us, but it's made it more challenging for us to place student interns.
Well, let's see. I'm going to check with Ben really quickly because I see people in the chat room saying that there's some sort of lag. We may have lost Aaron. I'm not really sure.
I'm actually still here, but I think I'm getting quite a bit of distortion on the line here. I've been following along with what Pete's been saying.
Okay, good.
How much interest has there been in terms of the schools that you've worked with in the school districts in setting up a lot of these programs? Well,
let me just say there's two different categories, that two different systems. Out east, there's 11 states. I'm from Pennsylvania, New York area, but there are 11 states that have traditional high schools and also utilize a vocational technical high school. That's kind of the old buzzword, but they specialize in career technical education and training. So basically, those 11 states that utilize that model, students would go to their traditional high school for a half day, and then they would be transported to the vocational school. So you might have 7 or 8 high schools or 2 or 3 high schools that form a charter. The students that want to go and learn a trade, whether it's automotive, plumbing, carpentry, they would then go to the Career Technical Center for a half day. And they do that. There's a school in Pennsylvania, Lehigh County Career and Technical Center, and it is I think they have 56 programs. I mean, students get out of there as high school students, certified in earth-moving equipment, down to nano fabrication, automotive technology. I mean, it's just an amazing model that they've put together out there. So that's the model that I come from. Coming into Wisconsin, it was a bit different. We don't have a technical, a vocational technical career system at the high school level. They have technical colleges. Out east, we call them community colleges. They're parallel. They have great programs out here, a very strong technical college system. But there are a lot of challenges because, as you know, automotive technology programs are very expensive to run. They're very expensive to build. You have you have your bricks and mortar, and it has to be a strong facility. And you can easily put in $1 million in equipment, $1 million plus. So, especially in these hard economic times, it's kind of it's tough, especially for smaller districts. But what we're doing in Beloit, Wisconsin, under our superintendent, Steve McNeil, Steve's actually been wonderful working with me and supporting this model. We've partnered with industry. Diane Hendricks, the founder and CEO of ABC Supply, and this is pretty interesting. I met her husband 8 years ago when I moved here, and I was frustrated. I moved here, and the Department of Public Instruction said, "Well, gee, you're not qualified to teach automotive technology." I said, "Excuse me?"
Really?
They said, "Well, you're teaching your degree from University of Wisconsin is to teach at the technical college level." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to charge the district anything extra for that." I got a tongue in cheek, and they said, "No, you don't understand. You can't teach without taking these extra courses." And they were courses, computer-aided drafting, photography, and I thought, oof, and I had to go through this. I jumped through their hoops, but it was a real eye-opener. And I met Ken Hendricks, a school board member, had said, "You need to go talk to this guy." My exact words were, "What's a got a billionaire that owns a roofing and siding company. What's he going to tell me about the automotive industry? And they said, just go over. He's a visionary. So I went over, and basically, Ken tragically was killed 3 years ago in an accident.
Oh.
But I went over and sat in his office, and he said, so, kid, what's on your mind? And I told him, I said, we got to do something here about this system. It's not. He goes, what's wrong with it? And I told him, I said, it's non-existent as far as teaching the trades hardcore to students in high school at the secondary level. And then Ken got on his soapbox, and I tell you, he got it. He understood exactly. It's common sense. Now, Ken actually quit high school, and he was listed as the 91st richest American in 2007 by Forbes magazine. So that gives you an idea of the visionary that this guy was. And we hit it off instantly. He treated me like a son, and what do you need to succeed? And I said, well, first I got to get through the certification issue. Well, he helped me get through that. We worked through that. Then we needed a bigger shop. High school shop was very small. It was an eighth of the size of the shop I came from that I built in Pennsylvania. He said, we have this old Sears Auto Center. I looked at it, and it was an absolute wreck. It was in a mall that he owned across from the high school, next to on ABC corporate property. And I looked at him. I said, "You kidding me, right?" And he said, "No." He goes, "How do you tell me what you need, and we'll build it for you." And subsequently, he and Diane invested almost $1 million in the renovation of this facility. It's about a 4,000 square foot facility, 2 smart classrooms. It's set up just like a dealership. I set it up just like an OEM dealership. And I have my students half day every day for 2.5 years, and you can really teach a trade. We're placing, so in answer to your question, small districts, it's really tough to do out here in this system. A larger district that's visionary, I'd have to say, and you have the support of the administration, it's really tough to do, but we got it done. It's a team effort, and it's really been working. The bottom line is we're putting kids in industry. I say kids, young adults. I mean, they're going in industry, and to see them out, I do my dealer calls, and I visit them on about a 6-week basis. I run out to the dealership and I just visit them, talk to their service managers, do a quick evaluation. And most of these young people, they're creatures of habit like we all are. They stay with them. A lot of the dealers will pay for their education in the GM ASEP program, the Chrysler CAP program, Toyota T10, that type of thing. So it's a really, really great deal for the kids. They're earning high school credits, they're earning college credits. They're getting paid, and they're effectively, when they get out of high school, they can use this time in our AYS program and take 1 year of trade experience off of the books, and so they can take their ASE test. So realistically, you can have a student that's 19 years old, almost 20, and go and take an ASE test and qualify to take it and hopefully pass it. So that's what we're doing here with that. And been well received.
I sort of have a 2-part question for you because, I mean, it's obviously the millennials they're a very different generation, right? And I don't always like using that word, but unfortunately that's just what they're called, right? But how are you getting these kids interested in coming to work in this industry when they're so obsessed with their gadgets? But at the same time, how is that early orientation in their lives with gadgets changing the way that they're learning to become a technician?
Shell, their rate of learning, if I compare it to my rate of learning, back in, I would say, 81, 82, 83, the rate of learning is exponentially faster. With all the electronic gadgets, I mean, these cars are rolling computers. That's what they are. And if the students realize that, and obviously they have to see that, as an instructor, that you are abreast of the latest technology. That's critical, because kids can pick that out, and they know if you know your subject matter and you're confident about it. But it gives them an edge. It really does. They're not afraid. In the dealership, when I started on co-op in high school, General Motors was coming out with computer command control, and it terrified technicians. A little bit before my time, I was told by my mentor that disc brakes terrified technicians. I thought, well, how can that be? Drum brakes, it's so much easier to do disc brakes. But it did. It actually terrified. Technicians were like, oof, I don't touch that. That's not a moneymaker. You're going to get all the warranty work. Well, I embraced it, and we didn't have the luxuries that these students have today, and the technicians. For instance, if lab scopes, that was new, and I bought an old TV lab scope for my neighbor, and I said, listen, Frank, this is what I need to do. I need to measure voltages, get profiles, and these parameters. Do me a favor. There's a million buttons. Crazy. Set them to where I need it. All the buttons I'm not going to need, crazy glue them. In a position where they're not going to interfere. And what I would do is I would actually, after work, I would stay at work. I'd get a new vehicle off the lot. I'd say, all right, let's see what a map sensor profile looks like electronically. And I'd write it down, and I knew what a good profile was. Let's take a look at a O2 sensor and see, what cross counting looks like electrically. So, today we have those profiles. The manufacturers provide us with those profiles to which we can compare. Students really, we still have to teach them the basics. There's no doubt about that. You have to give them a good basic foundation. And the ASE and ATEF curriculum provides, it's not a curriculum, but the guide provides that path for us and tells us, listen, this is what we teach, and this is what we don't teach. But, yeah, I got to tell you, it really, these kids that are out there, they're digging it. I mean, some of these, I have a student that had an eclipse, and I was amazed. I looked at it, I said, yeah, that a boy. He's reprogramming. He's e-flashing the prom for performance on a program he bought on a laptop, and that's what you like to see. You like to see a kid like that, and they just embrace the technology so much better, I think, than my generation, the newer technology. Because it's been so rapid. So yeah, I think it's a huge benefit, having the electronic gadgets. Sure.
We've had a question from our chat room. The question really is, what are there any women that are taking the program too, or is it all pretty much skewed towards the male students?
No. I would say when I was in an automotive program in high school, 27 years ago, whatever it was, 5 years ago, I wish to say, it was kind of a guy's world. But no, it's definitely co-ed. I believe I know last year we had about 4 young ladies in the program, and this year I think we have 6 total. So definitely a co-ed program. We have young ladies out there that are past graduates that are working in the field. So yeah, it's very well accepted. Everybody. The nice part about it is in the class they treat each other as technician apprentices. There's no guy girl kind of rivalry. It's actually kind of humorous. For me as an instructor, when a young lady will show a guy up in the shop, repeatedly, and then you look at it and say,
well, this generation seems to deal with that a little bit better, don't they?
Yeah. It's exactly. It's no different than another guy, showing a guy up. They do deal with it. I don't think they think twice about it anymore.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Have you seen a lot of demand coming from the students? I mean, when we think about going into the kind of technician, it's never really viewed as one of the more glamorous pursuits that parents would push their children in. Have you seen the demand coming really from the students to really try and learn some of these new technologies? We've seen overall interest in automobiles has waned, especially among some of the younger generations. Are you seeing anything like that, or is there still a pretty strong demand coming from a lot of the younger people?
Well, and that's going to lead me to talk about something else that I've been working on here. Kids are kids. Cars are cars. They love cars. Whether it's a 1970 Charger 6-pack V VIN code 4-speed with a Dana in the trunk, or an Evo of today. The kids, car guys and gals, they're car guys and girls. They're going to show up at my shop. It's when they tell their friends about it. I get my job is to actually give them the dream in the first level class and tell them, listen, here's a great industry. And I'm not telling you about this. I'm not telling you this because I read about it in the book. I'm telling you because I experienced it, I lived it, I've loved it. And they see that passion that you have, and you can see the passion that they develop for wanting to do that. you're right. I mean, 30 years ago, it was not a glamorous thing. I mean, racing, in many ways, people looked at local short track racing as a hillbilly sport.
Right.
You know, but it's evolved. So, you know, what I've done with the help of Ken and Diane Hendricks, Ken asked me about 6 years ago. He said, "Well, what got you into being a technician?" I told him my neighbor taking me to races. I said it was a dirty trick, and he said, "Well, let's do that." I said, "What do you mean? Let's do it? Let's go and build a stock car." So we actually purchased a stock car, an asphalt late model, and we raced at Madison International Speedway. We put 8 students on the team, and you know, different mix of learning abilities and desires, and it was amazing, the response. The response was so great. It spread like wildfire. I mean, I was turning kids away. So now I can't. You know, I got 8 kids, and we found out that was actually too much. We whittled the team down to 4 students and 4 adult mentors, and you know, that's a boatload of work for us to handle. But you know, to give you an idea how we've grown that, we've used that race car as a magnet to education. It's a great marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's an attention getter. We'll take it, park it at the mall on a weekend. You know, myself or some students will hand out cards, and you know, kids get interested. And when kids get interested in it, you know, they tell their mom and their dad or their guardian. And you know, realistically, guys, you know, counselors sometimes will say, "Well, you know, why do you want to be a mechanic? You know, you can be a computer technician." So you even get resistance there. But we use pull through. If a student is sold on it, you know, and a student wants it, they go to mom and dad. Mom and dad just, you know, I want my son or daughter in this program, end of story. So it works really well. You know, it was really funny when we showed up at the racetrack in 2005. You know, I think everybody looked at it as, hey, that's cute. Look at a bunch of guys working with some kids. You know, keep them off the streets or keep them busy. How cute. Well, I got to tell you, we came off of this season with 3 consecutive wins at Madison International Speedway with our driver Zach Riddle. Last person to do that, I believe, was Matt Kenseth here, because this is his home track. 3 consecutive wins, 12 or 13 fast times. I think we have a total of 5 or 6 wins this year. I mean, it's just the best racing season ever. I mean, we're a force to contend with, and this is a student manned race car. I mean, they do have adult mentors. You know, the adult mentors, you know, guide them in what to do. But you know, we're not so cute anymore. And that's a good thing. But yeah, that's really unique. And one of the great parts about working with Ken Hendricks, he was such a down to earth guy, and he would challenge you. I mean, sometimes to the point I'd look at him and say, "You're kidding me? How do you expect me to do that?" And he'd look at me and he'd point to his head and he'd say, "You have the resources." Yeah, and I'd walk out of there. Okay, you know, what do you mean by that? But what he did, this program was so successful with you know, what Ken's philosophy. He spent, well, Diane does it now. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year bringing an air show into Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin. And over the last, I think, 12 or 13 years, I had one student that went to Annapolis to the Naval Academy. And, you know, to Ken, when he told me, I said, "That's a success." He goes, "It was worth all the money. The money doesn't mean a damn thing, but I made a difference." I said, "Well, we're gonna definitely reach a lot more students per year, you know," and we did. It was amazing. So then Ken said to me, he said, "You know," he said, he called me, and it was after our first year racing, and he said, "You know, we got to get other schools involved." And I said, "Well, you know, I don't think that's going to happen, because of the, you know, they look at the liability. You own the race car, the one race car that we race. You own that, and you know, we're doing this as kind of an extracurricular. The superintendents and the administration were very supportive. They had a good relationship with the Hendricks family, and you know, everything was a green light. However, other districts wouldn't touch it because of liability. They were just fearful." So Ken we sat there in his office, and he sat back and he said, "You know, I want kids out there racing on Friday nights rather than on the streets or getting in trouble." He goes, "You figure out how to get other kids from other districts involved." I looked at him. I said, "You're going to fund this, you know, $150,000 a year for each school?" He said, "No." He goes, "You figure it out. You have the resources." And it took me, and I walked out of the office, my head was spinning. I was like, "Man, how am I going to do this?" You know, I used to call him Chief, and I said, "Chief," you know, thinking to myself, "Chief, you know, this is unrealistic." But, you know, he had a way to drive the best out of people, and ultimately, in about 7 months, we rolled out the American Speed Association, which you probably remember, ASA Racing, based out of Daytona Beach, Florida. They were our sanctioning body. We rolled out the ASA Educational Series, and what we did, we basically used the model by getting kids involved in our race team, and we went to other race teams at Madison International and said, listen, can you guys use help on your team? And they're like, sure, we can always use help. We can't find students. And I got to thinking, like Michelle said, people say the kids are different today and they're different interests. I can tell you this. I believed, and it was proof positive after our first year with the series, that if you have a PS3 in front of a kid or an Xbox or a stock car, they're going to go for the stock car in the majority of the time. And we proved it right. We put about 30 kids out there on other teams our first year. The track loved it. For every kid that was out there, and they weren't driving, they're crew members working on the car. They had to work on the car a couple of nights a week. But basically, how their team performed on the track, they were awarded scholarships. And in the last 4 years, we've given away $500,000 in scholarships.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my God, these are not the bad news bears, are they?
No, not by any means.
No, and the thing of it is now just realistically, we get kids from all different, you get kids that are trying to find their way and thinking, this is, this sounds interesting. I never even saw a car other than on the TV. And from my perspective, I thought it's a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the teams because they get to grow, like AS. You get to grow your own technician. You get to grow your own crew member. For the track, it's a win because it's putting more people on the hill. It's putting another person in the pits. Now, the tracks, they cover the pit passes for the kids when they sign up, so it doesn't cost the team anything extra. The team gets a valuable resource. I mean, there's guys that have been on teams now 5-6 years. I mean, they're graduated college and technicians, and they're racing on the weekends with these people. So the parents, it got the kids focused, and they earned valuable scholarship dollars. So it was a real success story, and it's spread 10 tracks across the nation right now, and it's just it made sense because when 30 years ago when I started working at the track on the crew, people can walk up and say, hey, you guys need a hand, sure, grab this, grab that. For the last 30 years, NASCAR, it's been different, because of the publicity. It's like walking up to Brad Pitt's stage crew and say, hey, can I help set up the props? Get out of here, kid. It's kind of, power, using that analogy. And so basically there's a whole generation of young people, or two, that, they see racing, but they can't be a part of it. Well, now we fixed that, and it's been very successful. And to see these kids grow into young men and women on teams, they a lot of them come up to me. Last race, I had a parent come up to me and said, my boy's graduating from college this spring. He's in a 2-year program, and Vern wouldn't have done this without the guidance, you putting him on a team. What a great program. And I got to tell you, if you would say, Pete, here's a check for $500,000, or here's the sense of pride you get when you see that in that situation, when you hear that, I'd say keep your check. Turn it into a paper airplane. It's just it's phenomenal how it works. So we've used that. We've used our race car as a marketing tool. It's very unique as a marketing tool and as a as a magnet to education. And interestingly enough, everybody here tonight in the roundtable, everyone's familiar with the legendary AJ Foyt of IndyCar fame, 4-time IndyCar winner,
absolutely,
or Indy 500 winner. Well, I worked for AJ, worked with their team a few years, and I got to know AJ and Larry and the guys in the crew. And last winter, I called Larry and said, hey, I got a kid up here who's really promising, and I'd like you. Would you want to take him down there for an internship? And they took him. I mean, the kid worked real hard to graduate by December, and Diane Hendricks bought him an airline ticket, and we shipped him down to Waller, Texas, and he spent some time down there interning. And what a great experience! Made great contacts. And the great part about it is, first generation in this country. Parents are from Mexico, and the kid is he's going to be a shining star in this industry, as a wrench, and loves racing. I mean, the kid shows up He's no longer racing with us because he graduated, but is working on another team, and just it's part of his life, and that's what we want to see. We want to, if you could reach somebody's affective mode and how they perceive and think about things in that manner, you've done your job. And then I think our team has really done their job getting these young people energized, working with our dealer stakeholders and our motorsports contacts and making this happen for them.
Well, I'm going to do our little half-hour announcement here. If you just joined us, this is Open Line Show, and I'm Michelle Naranjo from AutoByTel.com, and we're joined by Pete Raskovic, who's an automotive technician who has turned into an amazing educator. And my special co-host this week is Aaron Bragman, Senior Analyst at IHS Automotive. And if you guys want to call in and ask a question, please do, because Pete's going to be here for a little bit longer. It's 712-432-0900, PIN number 911633. And when we're doing the interview, you have to dial #6 once you get in to sort of raise your hand so we can open up the question board. We did have a question in the chat room, and it was about the kids. The wrenches are valuable, right? But are the kids learning how to apply themselves to the commercial aspects like sponsorships? Are they limited to the wrenching? And I'm kind of interested in this because, there's a whole other aspect to being a technician, right, where you have to actually,
correct,
at some point, you have to interact with the non-techs.
Right, and that's a great question, and I preach that with my students. As a matter of fact, I had a young man in my office today. He's in my just started my second level class, and he said to me, I've been thinking about the healthcare field or this. I've got to make a decision. I said, well, I'll support you on whatever you make, but I thought about the situation, and I could see you, going out, getting your associate's degree, working towards your bachelor's degree in automotive management, getting your 5-7 years of wrenching experience, becoming an instructor. And that's what I was thinking. I wanted to talk to you about that. But academics are what we do: the math, the applied skills, the communications. I am a big supporter of Skills USA. It used to be VICA, Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. It's a fraternal organization, a leadership organization for students studying the trades. And it's secondary and post-secondary, so these students can be a part of it in high school and college. And every Friday, I do a theory, my presentation to the students. I do a seminar, I guess you could call it, on the professional skills, the soft skills, the employability skills. For instance, we're building automotive portfolios together. Kids hate paperwork. They just don't like it. So I said, listen, here's a folder. Put your name on a folder, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make it painless. Every certificate you get, because I'm really big on having my kids work and earn industry certificates, not school certificates, but industry professional certificates while they're in high school. There's a lot of automotive manufacturers, aftermarket manufacturers. These kids can walk away. Kids that are not working at dealerships, working in independent garages, can walk away with about 6-7 certifications. They can't do their ASE certifications until 2 years or a year after the learning process, but they're walking away with some nice training certifications. And we put all that stuff in a file. And we work on a resume with them. We do interviewing skills. We do time management. Skills USA provides a whole curriculum on PDP, Professional Development Plan, and that's a big deal because you're right. I don't want it to just stop at the wrenches. I want to give these kids the tools they need. And one of the things I really, really admire about some of the European automotive manufacturers, just share a little story with you. And in a way, it was kind of sad. I worked at the dealership, and I knew I had to turn wrenches. I had to become a master technician, but I knew I wanted something bigger in this industry. And I talked to our General Motors rep. Oh, this is in 1983, 84. And I said, Mike, what does it take? What does it take to become a rep, a zone rep? And this was back when we had zone reps doing warranty claims and the technical stuff. And he said, well, you need a 4-year degree. I said, but I'm getting a 2-year degree in automotive. And he said, you need a 4-year. It doesn't matter if it's in political science. You need a 4-year. I said, well, that doesn't make sense. And it really didn't. However, a lot of the European manufacturers, they wanted you to be, hardcore technician, and they would train you for the next level position. We see that with the German manufacturers. they want you to have a strong grassroots level. The Japanese manufacturers, I worked when I was working at this dealership. They had a Subaru franchise. It was amazing. We had remember the old Subaru Justy 3-cylinders?
Oh yes.
We had a brand new one that came off the truck, and it had an engine knock, and they said don't touch it. Subaru's own said don't touch it. Block the car, keep it outside. We'll be in contact. Well, within 7 to 10 days, they sent out 2 Japanese engineers with an American interpreter, and they used the bay next to my bay, and they put the car up in the air, took the oil pan down. They needed to borrow some tools, they brought micrometers, and they just they basically took the bottom end apart, took a couple of rod caps off, and did their measurements. Wanted to, they were on a mission to find out why it failed. And I talked to the one engineer through the interpreter. I said, well, how did you get involved in this? And he said, well, I used to work on the assembly line in the engine division. I'm like, what? He used to work on the assembly line, and I expressed an interest in engineering, and they saw that I had that desire, and Fuji Heavy Industries put me through their own engineering school, so I'm an engineer. What a powerful to have somebody that understands these things actually become an engineer. That's strong grassroots foundation. That's powerful. I believe that's powerful whether you're going to be an automotive educator, an engineer, in the industry. If you have that grassroots knowledge, it just gives you one leg up on the competition. So I want my students to be prepared. I want them to go get a 2-year degree minimum after my program. I would like them to consider going on and get a 4-year degree in automotive management. And some students will go on to be engineers, and that is few and far between. But most of the time we'll get a handful of students that will go on to get their 4-year degree in management. Some students will go out to Michigan and get a degree in automotive management. There's a very good school out there. There's some good schools nationally. Penn College of Technology provides a 4-year degree in automotive management. So they're preparing themselves for the future, wherever that may be, whether it's service management. They natural progression go from a technician to a service advisor to possibly a shop foreman to a assistant service manager, an ASM, and then a service manager, and then service director. We've got to lay those options out. There's also a route if you need to go. You could go and work for the factory. I mean, that's a lot of
aftermarket industry an option, like any SEMA stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, I worked for Standard Motor Products, a Fortune 500 company, and that's I was a tech trainer for them, and that really opened my eyes to the world. That was like the icing on the cake for my career. I looked at it and said, wow, this is here's a kid from Bushkill Drive in Easton, Pennsylvania, who was playing in a garage 15 years ago, and here I am flying around the country training technicians. Some of them were double my age, and so that was, yes, aftermarket, huge. We don't want to limit our students whether they want to become educators, technicians. We want to prepare them for whatever options come down the road. We want them to be well equipped. And that's one of the reasons we're an AYS school and we're a NATEF Master certified facility. It's about giving our students options.
What's been the biggest challenge in keeping your educational programs going lately?
So obviously money. Very expensive programs to run. A lot of overhead. You get your fixed ops. I would say though, other than the budgetary constraints, it's getting getting the overcoming this economy, this problem we have with the economy now. But the good news is that a lot of the dealerships that I've talked to, my dealer partners, they laid off some of their higher level guys. Maybe not their most valued technicians, but the guys that were kind of in the upper echelon, soon to be very valued, but also with the high, had commanded a higher salary. There are a lot of layoffs. I mean, as you know, nationally, and now as business picks up, or as business continues to move, they find a need. And what a great opportunity, because they're not going to hire back these technicians at $25, $30 an hour right now. They're not going to do it. But what they can do is grow their own technicians. So effectively, a student will come to me for 3 days a week. they'll be in the automotive program, get their academics done. The other half day, Thursday and Friday, they will go out in a technical practicum. They'll go out and work, and they'll get paid. So a student could effectively work junior year, the summer between junior and senior year, summer before college, and then, while a lot of the kids will opt to go to tech college at night, or just take their automotive courses for one semester and then take their academics at night while they remain employed by the manufacturer and by the dealer. And so a kid could be 21 years old, 22 years old, and have 5-6 years of experience in a dealership. That's powerful.
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
Powerful. So what I'm seeing now is I'm seeing dealers. I have a friend that has 15 stores, and his Ford store is probably about 45 minutes west of my school. And he tells me hiring in the shop is an ongoing process, Pete. That's and what a great philosophy. But he takes these young technician apprentices, and I've got to tell you, I've got 5 students. When I say 5, I have 2 current and 3 former students in the work base. And they've got they probably have 15 students there, or rather 15 technicians there. So about a third are students from my program, and they're young. Chad works with them. What a great opportunity! I mean, and you see that he's not the exception to the rule. You see dealers that work with the young people. A lot of these kids, they may need a car. They'll get something from the back lot. They'll put them in a car. They'll give them. I mean, sell them the car for practically nothing, but the kid doesn't have the money, so they'll work with them once in a while. He can pay so much a month, and these dealers and the service managers are our stakeholders. They really step up to the plate to accommodate these students. And I explain to the students, you're going there and you're earning, in most cases when they start working, they're earning minimum wage or a little better. There is a cost affixed to your training. There is no doubt about that. You're going to make mistakes that the dealership's going to have to absorb. You're going to be slower. We're not looking for speed. We're looking for quality until you reach the point where, you're ready to go on flat rate. Mm-hmm. So, to have strong dealers and a strong advisory committee, which is basically made up of our stakeholders, it's invaluable. You can't put a price tag on it. They are the people that drive what we teach. It's about teaching the curriculum that's tailored for industry. What does industry need? Not what does Pete want to teach or what Pete likes to teach or what my comfort zone is. It's what do we need to do. So, for example, right now, for the last, since school started, September 2nd, I've been doing job readiness skills. And the kids are like, well, what's that? That's new. I said, yep, it is. I said, well, I want to revisit from last year and the last 2 years, everything you did, that are imperative to you getting a job out there right now. I mean, basic stuff. Let's go over it. Let's review it. And, it's been really well received. And so we move into our new unit of instruction, our large unit of instruction on steering and suspension systems on Monday. The students have, in the last 30 days or so, have gotten their job readiness skills, that I call it, job readiness skills, aside, and they're comfortable with it. And now they can go out and apply for jobs.
Wow. We actually have a real caller question right now.
Yes.
Ben's going to let Dave in. Dave H.
Hello.
Hello.
Dave, are you there?
Welcome to Open Line.
Hello.
There he is.
Hello, Dave.
Sorry, it took me a minute to get off mute. I just typed my question into the chat. I was interested in Pete's comment about, I forget who the manufacturer was, but about them wanting the whole engine back.
I think you said Lexus.
That was Subaru.
Subaru.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I was at General Motors when Lexus launched, and I just remember the amazement company-wide that initially Lexus would not allow technicians to open up engines. If there was any issue whatsoever, rod knock or lifter tick or an electrical issue, they wanted the whole engine sent back to Toyota and just swap it out and let them determine root cause and fix it. And that was revolutionary from right. GM's perspective. So I was curious if you were involved in any of that back when Lexus launched.
No, actually, my dealer, our franchise, we had GMC, Cadillac, Oldsmobile, Subaru, and so that was where my dealership background was limited to. But I can tell you this, I worked on the Indy Racing League, and what you're saying, just what they're doing on the Indy Racing League, just echoes what you've just stated. When Toyota was involved, and now Honda has the exclusive the exclusive engine program for the IRL. They're about $100,000 a race per race lease. We could do nothing with those engines. We put the engine in, we hooked everything up to it. They were sealed units. We couldn't even start the engines until their engineer was there. I remember AJ one time started an engine, said, just get it started. And there was an engineer there. Let me tell you, there was an engineer there within a minute because everything's monitored. And the coolant, the oil temperature, they look at they plug in and look at all the data parameters, and everything has to be right. After so many races, we take the engine out, take the oil out, take the engine out, ship it back. So, that just, proves, just supports what you said about, their ability and desire to really, have their ear to the ground on what's going on with their engines, with their engineering, on that performance end of it. Because a lot of times, as we all know, this is a testing ground for new technology. So impressive. It was, to see the two engineers in white lab coats come in, and at the time I think I was probably 19 years old, 20 years old. It just blew me away because that was revolutionary. Usually it's take the engine out, create it. When a zone rep comes in, they'll warranty it, either warranty or not warranty it and ship it back where it went. Nobody knows. I think I definitely it was one of the events that really stuck with me in my mind. Obviously, almost 30 years later.
Dave, you know what? That's really interesting that you say that. It's a great question. And Pete, I have to tell you, my background's in off-road, and when I can, tried to crew for Rod Hall, and of course they used to be Hummer. And Rod helped develop a lot of, through his off-road racing and training with the military, helped develop the Hummer as it was when it died. But there was a lot of technology training going on right there for GM, and they would send out engineers, but they were like crew. It wasn't like they were there to monitor and oversee it. Whereas for the Baja 1000, if Toyota shows up with a Pathfinder, or a Forerunner, they would have like Ivan the Iron Man. And I asked Ivan one time, I said, so do you get to test it throughout, the year before it shows up in Baja for you to drive, and you actually get to dictate a lot of how it runs and some of the things you'd like to see in it? And he said, no, they show up, and it was literally like the engineers in the white coats, over the Toyota, and, Ivan just got to walk in, Mr. Hollywood, and, drive it as hard as he could, and it was a much different experience. There's very much the engineers rule everything with Toyota for sure.
Yeah, TRD does some amazing stuff. And when they were involved in the IRL, we ran a Toyota one year, and these guys are engineers. They come in there. I like to pick their brains and see what their background is and their expertise areas, and it's pretty amazing. A lot of these engineers have never touched a wrench. They're trained in doing a certain task. They're trained in monitoring parameters or specific parameters, and they do a great job at it. It's just amazing the different level of thought that's there. So you're right, and Dave, that's a great observation. I think that all of us in the industry, manufacturers, dealers, and technicians alike, would be well served to not just we need to know why it failed, and I think we've done a great job moving towards that direction as an industry in the United States compared to where we were 30 years ago.
Mm.
Sure, and I guess as a follow-up question, do you see a change in that as far as the domestic automakers go? Certainly, I have a perspective on it, but I don't want to bias your answer.
As far as which way it's
in terms of wanting to get the hardware back unmolested, so to speak, to understand root cause and fix the issue in the manufacturing upstream rather than just shipping money out to the dealers to fix it and keep building problems in at the engine plant or the vehicle plant.
You know, I guess, you know, I would have to say this: if we're not just survive, but flourish and thrive, and you know, be a leader, we have to do that. I don't see that as being optional. You know, whether the manufacturers, it's the direction that they are going to go or willing to go. Boy, I really don't know. I would hope they would. You know, I would hope they would move towards that direction like they have. You know, but we have to. I mean, you can't, in a global economy, we can't, you know, put Band-Aids on problems, hope they go away till the next model year. You know, we've got to address it and keep building our technology. You know, so I guess, you know, my opinion would be, I don't see how we could move away from that direction. I think we need to move towards that direction if we're going to remain strong.
Sure.
And become strong.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I just wondered if, from your perspective, if you saw that shift taking place, because my perspective is from engineering looking out, and I believe there have been significant strides in that direction, but your perspective is looking the other way from what I gather, and I'm just interested to know if it's making a difference.
I think it would. I think it does. You know, I had a friend of mine I worked with on the IRL, Matt Stevenson, and Matt actually works for NASA, and now, and I said to him, you know, Matt, I said, you know, it's something. I remember working at the dealership. I think it was 1981, 82 Cavalier, and the coil, 4-cylinder coil, was up and back of under the manifold, and it was just, how do you get it? And I said, you know, how do engineers design this stuff, and you know, have they ever, you know, when it can't be serviced easily? And you know, he was a really, you know, tell it the way it is kind of a guy. And he said, well, Pete, he goes, you know, if an engineer can build it, they should be able to service and repair it. He goes, that's an engineer. And, you know, I like that. I really do. And I think you see a lot of that philosophy with the Europeans. And you know, you're seeing it here, too. It's a trickle-down effect. You know, we're such a powerhouse that we need to embrace the technologies and the procedures that keeps us on top. I mean, you know, there's second place isn't good enough. It just isn't. And you know, especially in this global economy, you know, it's you know, we're melded here. You know, foreign, domestic. Where's the line? You know, but I think the competition back in the 80s. You know, it was kind of a disaster from my perspective in the shop, seeing some of the stuff that was put out. I mean, the Oldsmobiles, you know, the big 88s and 98s with 260s, and you know, they couldn't get out of their own way with a 90-mile-an-hour tailwind. You know, what's the thought process there when they put that car together, and why, why is it like that? That was troubling. I got to tell you, as a technician, it was troubling to see that. And then, you know, on the same thing, we worked with Subarus, and you looked at the Subarus, and you thought, wow, this is pretty simple. It's pretty basic. It works. You know, great fuel economy, and you saw that. You know, this is back in the 80s. They were pretty darn reliable vehicles. So, you know,
like
just from a technician's perspective.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You just reminded me of the Brat with the seats in the cargo bed. That was always interesting.
It's funny you should mention that, because when I just talked about Subarus, I was visualizing a blue Subaru Brat at the time that I was amazed. And I thought, first thing came to my mind is a lot of liability here, you know, sitting in the back getting launched, you know.
Yeah, but now they're iconic collector's items these days.
Right. You know, and take that back 10 years, the Volkswagen Thing, you know, try to buy a VW Thing, but yeah, they did. They definitely. It was kind of interesting because some of the guys, I worked in the Cadillac module at that time, and we were directly across from the Subaru technicians, and Subaru techs had you know, they were one of us. They were you know, from the same city, from the same towns, but they were trained, and they had almost a different mindset, it seemed, at the time. You know, you know, there was I don't even know how to describe it, but sometimes I thought they were better than the Cadillac technicians, and it was funny, and who could be better than a Cadillac technician? But it was just a great learning experience being out in the dealership and getting a chance to work on these different vehicles, work with the manufacturers. Manufacturers provided some great training for us. If you wanted the training, it was there. If you didn't want the training, you didn't want to take the time to go to Moorestown, New Jersey, or to go to any one of the other training centers, guess what? You weren't going to grow. But we had a lot of engineers that did teach the classes for General Motors, and it was interesting perspective for me as a young technician at the time. Back when they had the check engine, the computer command control, and fuel injection was just coming out. We'd go to a class, a 2 or 3A class at Moorestown, and the General Motors engineer would say, all right, well, let's look at flow charts. Okay, so if we have this voltage, we need to follow this path. If we have this voltage, and at the bottom it was clear, it was black or white. It was replace, you either have bad connection or replace the component, or obviously at the time they called it an ECM. And I'd sit there and say, well, wait, it doesn't always work that way. What do you mean it doesn't work that way? It has to work that way. Well, it doesn't, So we, a lot of good give and take, but it was just a different perspective. It was a perspective of my being a technician in a shop, trying to figure out these cars, and the engineers who were trained to build these, and obviously train. Right people, amazing people. I mean, some of the stuff that they would tell us and instruct us on, you'd sit there and say, wow, that's rocket science, and in a lot of ways it was. But then, you look at it today, and the technology on a low-level car, the computer systems are exponentially faster, more reliable than the Apollo 11 computer system. And I got to tell you, I mean, I wouldn't be real comfortable thinking about that with all the failures we've seen early in the 80s. But that just gives you an idea of how this trade has become such a highly skilled trade. And I love Snap-on tools. As you know, they're based in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Great, wonderful tool. They come out with some really interesting posters over the years, and one of them, I just really, I looked at it and I saw it. It's my favorite. I have it framed. It has a picture of a man, a professional, and he's in his light blue dealership shirt, and his daughter is there with him, and they're working on a computer. And the caption says, in high school they called him a gearhead. She calls him daddy, and it said it all. You look at it, and here, it's not the stereotypical, grease monkey, rough-shaven, mechanic that we've been trying to break that image, for years. It's just kind of looking at that poster. You look at it and say, listen, this guy's a professional. It's it's got to be a highly skilled trade. It just sends the right message. I know we've all watched these different shows on different networks. Custom Garage. I'm not to mention a particular show where they they play mechanic. And I look at some of that stuff, and my son races, and he's young, he's 14, and I look at that and I say, Mike, it's really not like that. This is a bad, they're portraying a bad image of technicians. They're showing themselves to be mechanics. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's the way I see it. We have an image that we had an image battle that we had to fight, and we need to continue that, uphold that professionalism. And boy, when I see stuff like that out there, I think it just hurts the whole industry, at this level. But that was, Dave, that's your background in engineering then.
Dave, were there?
Dave, with us? Yeah.
We may have lost Dave.
You're sorry.
Okay. No, your background is in engineering then?
Yes, engineering and quality. So I was at Ford for almost 17 years and doing engineering consulting now as a sort of a tier 1 consulting supplier to Ford.
Oh. Yeah, that's I heard you guys initially before I called, you were talking about that Ford commercial. What was the general consensus? I thought that was John had that last week on Autoline, and it was pretty interesting how they yanked that ad.
It is. We were still trying to come up with what the consensus was. It's a difficult topic for them. It's on one hand they'd love to be able to capitalize on the fact that that is an advantage for them in the market, but on the other hand they'd get a whole lot of flack over it from a lot of people very high up. Not to mention the White House, I don't think necessarily wants Ford out there saying it, and that's one of the reasons I think we saw Congress just this past week actually summoned Alan Mulally. The House Representatives did, to actually explain why did you take this ad off? Did you get pressured by the White House to do it? So
right. Just in case anybody that's listening doesn't know what we're talking about, in the first hour we were talking about the Ford ad that was the driver who was on the Ford nationally broadcast ad that came into the group of, everybody's seen those Ford ads, right, where they bring in the whatever driver, and he came in and he said that he bought Ford because they didn't take any money from the government, which was a sort of low shot at GM and Chrysler.
That's the way it's being interpreted anyway.
Right, and Ford pulled the ad.
That was very uncharacteristic of Ford to do that, though. They're usually very sensitive to that sort of thing, and generally don't follow that path.
Yeah,
exactly.
Ford CEO Alan Mulally has been very careful to not ruffle those kind of feathers, because you know what? You never know when Ford may have to go to the government down the road. If we hit another recession, if we hit another big economic issue, they may have to go to the government and ask for money at some point. And to have something like that out there, it wouldn't necessarily sit well with a lot of politicians to begin with. So
I don't think they wouldn't have crafted a message of that sort, but maybe they thought since that was the voice of an actual customer,
precisely,
they could do it and it would be taken in the right way. But of course, everyone jumped on the bandwagon to say, Ford's rubbing everyone's face in the mud, and it was probably wise to pull it.
I agree.
And I don't think you could. I really don't think that you can. You can't win. You can't come out on top with an ad like that either way. It's just, you're right. That was uncharacteristic. The upside of that, obviously, they were trying to convey a sense of pride, independence. We understand that. People that work for GM as well, on the assembly lines, they're independent technicians. The engineers, management, everybody's independent, wants to be independent, and strives towards that. But so that's when I saw that, I was like, boy. At first, I looked and I said, wow, and my students, it was amazing to see their reaction. They were just, some of them laughed, some of them were just shocked. We watch. By the way, I'd like to mention this. Autoline Daily is a daily part of our automotive program.
I'm so glad to hear that. Doesn't John do a fantastic job? John and the team are just, I think it's an amazing show.
That's the one podcast I can't do without.
Yeah, everybody there. It's wonderful. I mean, and it takes. I explain to the students, especially the first level students, when they come in there. Listen, it's going to take you, a week to get this. I mean, they're going to talk about things that you don't know about. They're going to talk about parts suppliers. They're going to talk about finances, but they're going to talk about new technologies. And you're going to get the issues, and it's amazing how it's. I mean, they sincerely. I mean, they'll remind you, Mr. R, we have to watch Autoline before the end of the day, or we'll watch. We watch if we don't watch it in the morning. If we got some things that we have that are pressing, they will remind me that we need to watch Autoline. And and that's not embellishing it. It is just it's so ingrained in, and that is their daily current events dose. So hats off to everybody at Autoline. It's a great tool, and I try to tell other instructors about it. What a great tool. Again, as Michelle said, it doesn't stop with turning wrenches. You need to be informed, whether you're at the grassroots level, service management, or, level 99, you need to be informed of what's going on in your industry. I mean, it affects us. It affects us at the grassroots level, at the technician level.
It's so true. Pete, thank you so much. I mean, and you know what? I'm going to tell you something. You need to get your students to start downloading Roundabout Show from Autoline on Fridays, because that's the younger sort of generation. It's the humorous stories from the automotive world of the week, and it gets a little bizarre sometimes. And there's, but you might not like it so much, but I bet your students would. But thank you so much
Very
for coming
creative.
on. This has been fantastic. I would love to have you back on so we could actually probably take calls and people could ask you questions, because I think you probably know a lot more than I do, for sure.
Well, I want to thank everybody for your dedication and your passion and taking the time. You guys do a great job. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you. So, Pete Raskovic, I mean, do you want to promote any of you guys don't really have a site, do you?
Actually, if they can Google up Urban Force Racing, and it'll take them to the site. It'll tell them about the racing program. It'll have some links there, and I guess I would like to say thank you to the school district of Beloit, who has been an absolute supporter in this quest to build a world-class program here in Wisconsin. Thank you to Automotive Youth Educational Systems, and a big thank you to all our dealer and manufacturer partners. Without your support in AS, this would not, what we do here across the nation, training students to work in dealerships and to give them a good, solid foundation, wouldn't be possible. So I guess the big thanks would go out to the dealers and the manufacturers who have participated in AS. Keep up the great work. We need your support, and you are our key stakeholders. Thanks so much.
Oh,
Thank you, Pete.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete. And so, you guys, thank you for joining our recorded portion of Open Line Show. Of course, we're going to go on for another 2 hours at least. It depends on how late Aaron and I feel like staying up. You are more than welcome to join us. You can always call in at 712-432-0900, PIN number 91633. That number is open now. We'll stop recording and everybody will be unmuted, so you can call in and we can just talk about the automotive stuff that's happened in the last month. And Pete Raskovic, again, thank you. We
thank you.
Appreciate it. So interesting.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Your conference recording has stopped. Q&A session is over.
Of course, Pete is more than welcome to stay on and keep talking to us, because I'm sure we could keep him on forever.
Michelle, I got to tell you, I'd love to. I absolutely would love to, but I've got to tell you, when Ben and by the way, Ben, is Craig there tonight?
I don't think Craig came on tonight. I think Craig's probably hiding away in Romeo, but yeah.
Okay. When Ben emailed me and said, find a nice, clear, preferably landline. Well, we live on a farm in rural Wisconsin. I teach an hour away. Okay, so to give you an idea, when we moved here, I called U.S. Cellular and I said, I've got issues with my phone service. When I sit on the left side of the couch in my sunroom, I get service. If I sit in the center of it, I don't. And the lady said, "You're kidding me," and she hung up. And it was funny because when you said get a nice area, I am sitting in my F350. New F350, yeah.
On the dedicated man.
on the top 40 acres, and I said to my children, my wife's working, she's a nurse, and I said, guys, you take your showers, and Dad will be down about 9 o'clock, and they go to bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I said, so they were doing their homework on their own tonight, and I got them started, but yeah, I'd love to stay and chat, but it's kind of dark up here, and
well, the
I thought I saw some coyotes.
You are people's heroes now. They loved you.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure and a real honor, and just thank you for your dedication. I don't think you probably don't realize there's probably hundreds of other stories like this out there where instructors are letting their students, allowing their students to really explore the other aspects of the industry, which, in a classroom, we're in a classroom with 4 walls, shop doors, bay doors, tools and equipment. They need to get out and see the industry. My students see the industry.
You know what, Pete?
Day.
It's ironic that you say that. Last summer, I almost moved back to New Mexico because my dad was ill, and unfortunately, he passed on. But while he was ill, I was out helping take care of him in Roswell, New Mexico, middle of nowhere, and I got offered a position to go teach in a continuing ed high school that had a full shop for, the whole deal, and they wanted me to come and teach automotive history.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I very nearly did it. And the great thing, because I don't have I have my grad degree, but I don't have teaching degree. that meets the New Mexico standards, but they have a program that which is probably something similar to what you probably had to do at some point, where you can literally be taking part-time classes either online or at night through universities and get your teaching credentials so you can teach at the high school level. And I was like almost all the way through the process, and I ended up deciding to join Autobytel.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Automotive history.
Oh, you know what? You know what the great part about that is, though, Michelle? At any given point in your career,
I can always go back and do it, and I know that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's a beautiful part about this, that you can say, I just think it's time to give back, and that's really when I look at that. My students, it's amazing. We had an issue 2 years ago. We were at the track, and when you're racing at the local level, a lot of the guys will, they put their components in. They have specialists rebuild them, and we went to push the car out for qualifying, and the transmission shaft, the input shaft broke, and I scoured the pits, and I found another transmission that was supposedly blown, and I said to my students and the adults, I said, listen, I want the trailer cleaned. I'm going to rebuild this transmission on the floor if I try to. I got the transmission done in about 35. It's a manual transmission, Saginaw, and I got it done in about 35 minutes. But I had a little bit of a problem, and I called my mentor. I said, Bob, what do you think? I mean, it is. And he said, well, it's got to be this. I said, you think so? And he was, the guy's 66 years old, just an icon to me, dead on, And it was as simple as, is that bearing? Does it have the machining for the snap ring at the top of the bearing or the middle? That's what it was. And when it was amazing. And when I got done, there were probably about 20, 25 other crew members from other teams watching this process at the students. You do what you got to do. We put it in the car, and we wanted to qualify, and they'd let us take the car out and practice. And between some other divisions, we qualified. We took second. Well, the interesting part was I went back to my classroom on Monday, and I walked in right after lunch, and I heard my one student that went to AJ Foyt for the internship, I heard him, he's like, R was just BA. He had this transmission apart. I mean, gears everywhere, just slamming this thing together. You should have seen it. And I just stopped. Like, I thought to myself, that's what I said about my mentor 30 years
Exactly.
ago. And you know what, Omar, that's what you're going to say. That's what you're saying about me, and some kid's going to say that about you in 20 years. And that's the beauty of it. That's just the beauty of it. So, well, anyway, listen, I've got to sign off. You guys have been great. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Absolutely. Be careful of those coyotes. Take care.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so if you guys have just joined us again, this is Open Line Show, our monthly automotive get-together. I'm Michelle Naranjo from autobytel.com. I'm joined by Aaron Bragman, our senior analyst from IHS Automotive, and we do this on the first Tuesday of every month. I think every month, right? Gosh, we've been doing it for 4 months every month. We used to do it weekly. Join the conference call, 712-432-0900 and PIN number 911633. And you can always come in and chat with us because Aaron and I actually answer people when they ask us questions. bit.ly/openline. And Aaron.
Yes.
I'm going to go to the loo.
Go to the loo. I'm good. But you see what I did there? I changed the script there on the... Finally,
I know, because you know what I would do is I would read it and I'd go like,
I gotta change that. Yeah.
I gotta change that one day. And then the next month I'd go, I gotta change that one day.
I took care of that. There you go. You're welcome.
You.
My pleasure. You go to the loo. I'll be here.
Yes, they can hear the alarms in my barrio going off right now.
I wondered what that was. I didn't know if there was somebody breaking into the house or.
The great thing is, so normally, like clockwork, my neighbor starts mowing and blowing his yard right outside this window on Tuesdays. Like, he's like clockwork every Tuesday. And then we have the ice cream truck that comes after that. And then we have the fire department. And then we have, like, the odd alarms going off. But it rained today, and so everyone kind of seems to have gone home and just gone to bed.
Nice.
I know.
I'd be out there running after the ice cream truck, actually.
Oh, my God. Our ice cream truck actually does banana splits.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You know, California, I swear to God.
No, it's Mexicans. We know how to eat well.
Oh, okay, there you go. Is it a banana split with some like really good mole sauce or something like that? Chocolate caramel. Yes, there should be bacon trucks.
Okay, I'll be right back.
All right.
Have fun.
So it's me. Is anybody else on the phone line here with me? Or is it just me talking to myself? Well, anyway, things have been interesting here in the Detroit area. If anybody is keeping track of the Detroit Tigers game, it would appear to be 4-1 Yankees currently. So I know there's a lot of hope going on here for the Detroit Tigers, but at the moment, it doesn't look like it's doing too well here. They are at 4-1 apparently in the top of the sixth. So I haven't turned the television on, but I can actually see some updates going on with that. The Ford thing that they've got going on with the commercial that they pulled, it's been an interesting topic here because we've seen a lot of people going back and forth in terms of whether or not this is a good thing, if Ford should actually be promoting it or not. I'm still confused, I guess, over the ability of people to basically say that they're going to look at GM, they're going to look at Chrysler, and they're going to punish them and not buy the vehicles because they took government assistance. It strikes me as somewhat backwards in order to do that. But if you have a different opinion on that, if you think that they should be promoting themselves before, let me know. I hear somebody out there.
No, I just unmuted myself.
Oh, good. Thank you. I don't have to talk to myself anymore.
Hey, I do that all the time. Don't worry.
You know, Rush Limbaugh does it for hours and hours and hours a day. I don't know how he does that.
I should be paid because I do it for hours and hours on days. How I get through my day.
Indeed.
I'm not sure what to think about this Ford thing, though. I mean, I didn't like the ad because, it's just, I just thought, I was like, really? Yeah. Really?
That's what everybody, we looked at it and went, it makes you a little uncomfortable. If you're familiar with the situations behind everything, with the history of the industry and what they went through, it makes you uncomfortable. You look at it and you say, well, that's disingenuous.
Yeah, it just makes you if you know it, it just makes you just put your hands up to your head and just be like, why? Why are you doing that?
Michelle's under the impression that these Ford commercials aren't exactly as spontaneous as they're trying to make them out, that they actually must be somehow coached to know that there's going to be a room full of reporters for them to talk to. But
yes, because, because that's how I always know when I walk into a room.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was just a bad ad.
It was. Have you seen the Ford ads with Doug the Ford Focus puppet?
I have, and I can't stand those either.
Can you really? See, I found some of them to be amusing. I found some of them to be annoying. But overall, I thought the ones where he actually went and visited the people at Automobile Magazine. Did you see those?
No, I haven't seen those yet.
Apparently, it's actually really funny. It's funny because I know a number of the people in the room there. They took Doug the Focus puppet, and they actually went to the Automobile Magazine offices here in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. And they were under the guise of introducing the Focus to the folks and staff at Automobile. I mean, the first one starts off where Doug is actually sitting in Jean Jennings' chair in her office, and she plays it so cool. She comes in and does the whole shtick with them. But it's worth searching out. I think Autoblog had it on there.
All right. Well, I'll see if I can find it later. But it's just, I just never was a big fan of like the Doug, the puppets. Just like, oh god.
Yeah. Ben Sanders on the chat line asks an excellent question from what we saw. From Dave Shepardson of the Detroit News wrote an article. He talked with Bob Nardelli, who was the former CEO of Chrysler under Cerberus Capital Management. And apparently Mr. Nardelli was a little bit upset that the government, quote unquote, gave Chrysler away to Fiat. He basically said that if Cerberus had gotten the same deal that Fiat had gotten, that they could have easily turned Chrysler around. It wouldn't have been an issue. I think that is probably one of the most revisionist history expressions I've heard in quite some time. The idea that they could have taken, first of all, let's look what the government gave Chrysler, or gave Fiat in order to take Chrysler. The government gave a few $1 billion basically in loans that had to be paid back. And given the scope of what had to be done to repair Chrysler, there was nothing that Cerberus could have done, even with several $1 billion, that would have really turned them around, I think, to the point where the way that Fiat has done. Fiat hasn't. You look at it, and that makes the assumption that Fiat hasn't really invested anything in Chrysler, and that is far from true. They may not have pumped any kind of cash into it, but looking at the number of personnel, of the technology, the tooling, in order to build the 1.4 liter fire engine down in Dundee, the amount of effort that Fiat has put into turning Chrysler around far outweighs anything that Cerberus could have brought to the party, given a couple $1 billion from the U.S. government. The big contributions have all been in kind, and they've come from Fiat because Fiat had them to give. We're talking platforms, we're talking expertise, marketing, everything. In terms of just Fiat, of Sergio Marchione's expertise and his own presence himself, I think, is extremely valuable for them. For Barb Nardelli to say that, I really can't even believe he said that. And I think there's Rebecca Lindland, who's another analyst at our company. I think she said it best, that there's very few people at Chrysler, I think, that would agree with him on that topic.
Oh, I not agree with him at all.
Yeah.
I wrote an article about this, maybe yesterday or so about this, and I'm reading through this, I'm like, what planet are you on? Like,
oh, I know.
And I agree with what you said. I mean, Cerberus, even if they had the money, they couldn't offer everything Fiat had.
No.
And it's like, Nardelli's like, oh, he's like in another world. It's like, well, yes, we could do this, this, and this, and this. It's like, no.
You really couldn't.
Your track record so far with Chrysler is just like stale.
Yeah.
Nothing really went on that we could tell. When Fiat at least came in, there was some real movement going on.
Well, they even Fiat, when Marchione had a look at everything that Cerberus had done, his comment to Stephen Ratner, the guy who in the federal government appointed to basically be the auto czar to oversee everything, his comment to Ratner was, "We were astonished at how little Cerberus had done over the last 24 months."
Yeah, but we were amazed they changed the light bulbs. I'm surprised he didn't say that.
In many cases, they didn't change light bulbs.
It's just like it just saddens me because it's like, what Fiat has done. It's just amazing of what they have pulled off so far in the short time they've had Chrysler. Mm-hmm. They've got things going. They were able to get some of the products that were being worked on during the time of Cerberus, but also get other products up to a better level, like the 200.
Yeah. 200 is an improvement over Sebring. It's not exactly class leading, but it is better.
But, yeah, it's just like we can't do much right now. Let's get it to a point that it's at a point where it can compete with everybody else, and then we'll work on the next one. I think that's kind of what Fiat's thing was at the time, and I think that's a really good thing they did that.
In retrospect, it's turned out to be, yes. Although I do have to wonder what the deal was that they offered the suppliers to tool up new interiors, to tool up new instrument panels, to tool up all this new stuff for what is basically going to be a 2 model year program.
Well, there was a ton of money that went into that whole, quotes, Model D program to reinvigorate that segment.
Mm. So it has
I mean, presumably that funneled straight into the suppliers.
I'm actually told by a number of people that worked at Chrysler that what we see now is the Chrysler 200 and the interiors of the Avenger and interiors in a number of these cars is basically what these were supposed to have looked like when they were first introduced.
Yeah, they got cost reduced
way back when. Yep, Daimler was the one basically that pulled a lot of the stuff out. and cost reduced it to the point where they were completely uncompetitive. And I forget who it was that had written that it had the Chrysler Sebring had all the interior quality of a Chinese water pistol.
I like to compare it to the Ford Freestar, like interior by Rubbermaid.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh.
But no, I mean, at the time we basically all thought that Fiat and Marchione were crazy to try and update these cars, update the entire lineup basically in 18 months. And a lot of it was apparently already done. Was done before they got there, and it was just basically a matter of going back to the suppliers and say, you know, that program that we told you we were going to do and then we didn't do and went with the other one, go back and do that other one since you already got it all designed and mocked up. We need to pull the trigger on that. But the cost of doing that, I'm sure, had to be just astronomical. Either that or the promises made to these suppliers, saying in future business potentially, had to have been pretty stellar in order to get them to do it, because it's a gamble for these suppliers to pull up all this tooling, to take all this risk of expense, especially with a company like Chrysler, especially with cars that were as bad as they were and had reputations that were as bad as they were. But you look at some of the new stuff now from Chrysler, and it's top-notch stuff. It is really astonishing what they've been able to do.
Yeah, the Sebring definitely needed it. I'm not sure I like the 300 as well as the previous one, but it'll grow on me.
It's a subtle change, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been growing on me since I first saw it. I mean, it's not really, as I say, it's not revolution, it's evolution. I mean, there's still like a little bit of the old 300 in there in like design and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been growing on me.
I'm a huge fan of the Charger SRT8. I think the SRT8 Charger looks absolutely fantastic. Whenever I see one out running around, I just stop and stare.
Yeah, they did a lot with the character line on the side that just works.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because we saw these cars a good 3 years ago. Almost 4 years ago now.
Oh, we're featuring the Charger on the homepage.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, you can really see the line. It's kind of funny because Jeff Ross was in town last week, and he had one, to test drive. And you don't see it. It's not that clear when you're in person with it, to me. Like, when I saw our homepage this morning, I was like, dang, I never, really saw that.
I remember seeing
the aspect... Oh, go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the rear aspect of the car really strikes me as very nice as well, as contrasted to the Mustang, which I liked when it came out, but then I saw the Charger and I was like, wow, I like that even more. It's like Battlestar Galactica.
But it's so much more money, right? Isn't it?
Right.
Like
Charger? No.
Isn't it?
No, you can get a Charger. You can get into a Charger for $26.
You can get a Charger, the SRT8's like $50, right?
Oh, the
so
SRT8,
how much is the 302?
Yes.
SRT8 will run you in the high 40s, 50s, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, even the base model Pentastar V6 with the new 8-speed transmission that they've got, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. I got to drive one over the summer, and it is frankly the one to have. I mean,
did you have that little screen thing that Jeff had last week where it's on the navigation screen in the center stack, where you can set it so that it shows you how many miles per hour you're going and how many horsepower you're doing?
No.
Okay, that thing freaked me out because it was like the Fusion little leaves growing on the hybrid. He was watching that instead of driving, going 85 miles an hour on a side street, and we were going like 400, 20-something, 30-something horsepower or something. And I was like, just watch the road!
Don't let Ray LaHood hear you say. Talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Ray, we didn't say anything, okay? Just go back to your little thing, okay?
Exactly.
Not safe driving. But it was kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of those driver information things that, I don't know if it's fair to say we first saw them in the Nissan GTR, but I mean that really sort of revolutionized the kinds of real-time, almost Nintendo-like driver center stack information.
Isn't that funny? Like the GTR hasn't had the same sort of pickup and sort of cult value that something like a Boss 302 or a Charger S58 or even a Challenger.
Oh,
Yeah,
Challenger.
I mean, it's still one of those cars where I go like, oh, that's a GTR. Like when I rarely see one.
Right.
You know, I love the Challenger, but probably not for the reasons most people do. To me, the Challenger is the ultimate fat guy sports car.
I thought maybe it made you feel young.
No. I don't feel old yet. What are you talking about? No, it's big, it's wide, it's got great big flat seats and tons of room inside. It's not cramped like a Camaro or strangely proportioned like a Mustang. It's just big. It's a Charger coupe, basically. It's a 300 Charger coupe, and it's just.
Let it smoke a cigar.
It does. It's just massive, and now with the new engines and the new suspension, it actually handles pretty decently.
6.4 Hemi.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell you what, the one that's impressed me most recently, and that I got to drive out in Portland not long ago, was the new Jeep Wrangler. The 2012 Wrangler with the Pentastar engine and the new transmission is really a fantastic combination. It makes the thing a livable, daily drivable runabout that you really don't have to compromise for anymore.
You know what, Aaron? It's funny because I have this friend that I've been friends with, I don't know, for 20-something years. And, I mean, she's very hip and cool. She was, and back in the day, she was an art director doing music videos, and she was the one that designed the Smells Like Teen Spirit video for that little band.
Mm-hmm.
She's now a massage therapist that owns a very nice spa. I think she does all right for herself. But she's very earth mothery. She's one of those people that like just picks and chooses out of every sort of spiritual culture that she possibly can and makes it all up to fit her. And she had wanted a Discovery diesel forever, so she could convert it to bio, right? And the last time I'd seen her in her car, I mean, we see each other, but I hadn't seen her what she was driving. So she had a CRV, and then she had an X3, which I was like, you idiot. Like, seriously. And I tried to help her sell her CRV, and she was convinced it was worth, like, a ton of money, and it wasn't.
I'd love dealing with people like that.
Oh, Honda owners, yeah.
So, right. So then, I knew she had the X3, but then we were at something together this weekend, and she goes out with the kids afterwards, and I see her getting into a Wrangler Unlimited with no doors on it.
Sweet.
With one child 14, one child still like 9.
Did she have Birkenstocks on?
And I was like, I pulled up and I was like, hey, that thing, when did you get that? She's like, well, I wanted the Discovery diesel so I could convert it. I couldn't, so I got this. So now you're getting 13 miles a gallon on regular gas.
Well done.
Awesome. I always basically describe driving a Wrangler as like driving a brand new vintage car.
That's so true.
It's exactly how it feels. It's ponderous. It's kind of slow. It's floaty, leaf spring suspension. I mean, it wasn't anything you'd call modern, but it was always fun to drive. And as long as
modern in like the 1940s, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you didn't expect it to be anything crazy, it was fine. But as long as you expected it was going to handle like a Triumph TR3, you'd be okay.
Well, did it get that bad at fuel economy, Michelle? Really?
The Wrangler Unlimited really does get like 13, 14 miles a gallon.
Oh, that sucks.
I know, I love it. I would love to have one. I can't justify it.
Yeah, my dad comes up to me like a couple months ago and says, I'm looking at the regular Unlimited. I'm like, you really want to pay a bigger fuel bill than what you're paying right now? He's like, no. I said, exactly.
Why don't they put like a small engine in it and get better fuel economy, or gear it really tall? Nobody cares how it accelerates. I think everybody does kind of have that slight
thing with when they own a Wrangler that they kind of want to take it off road, unlike an Explorer owner, right?
Yeah, especially a new one.
Yeah, but they don't need. You can go off road with the right gearbox without a lot of horsepower.
It's true. I've driven the 2-wheel drive and the 4-wheel drive on huge dunes, like massive dunes. And
Yeah, don't forget they used to make an i4 Wrangler.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I was like looking for one a couple months ago. I couldn't find one.
Used Wranglers are just ridiculously expensive for what they are.
There's like, I mean, I'll tell you. So, you know, the in the top sort of like 10 cars that are searched on autobytel.com, there's only 2 American cars. It's the Mustang and the Wrangler, and the Camaro comes in at like number 11.
Huh.
Wow.
I mean, that's what real customers are looking for, right? Not the enthusiasts.
Well, there was one for sale by me, and I was looking at it. It was a 4-liter 6, and it looked like it drank gas. So I'm like, I wasn't interested.
I tell you, the new one with that Pentastar V6, the fuel-approved, Phoenix, Pentastar.
It's a great engine, but it probably still burns too much gas.
It's gotten a significant bump in fuel economy, almost 25%.
Really?
Yeah. Now, 25% of crap is still not great. But, I mean, it is bumping it up towards the 20s.
But the 4-door Wrangler looks really, really good. It's a good-looking vehicle.
It really does. And
I love it, right? It's gorgeous.
It's a good-looking vehicle. They need to make it... I think Chrysler will fix that, though. I think Chrysler's on the right track, so...
Along those lines, how about that Cherokee and Durango?
Well, the Cherokee. Okay, so there's the SRT Cherokee, right? Which it's like
I love that thing.
It sounds amazing. It's like crazy. It's 14 miles to the gallon right now, right?
Yeah, it's 14, but you don't care because you're just flooring it all over.
If you're buying that car,
you're not. But here's the thing: as an off-road person, that thing doesn't have a ton of coverage.
You're not going off-road in that thing.
Yeah, I want to know what person decides to go off-road in their SRT8. Hey, I'm going off the trail.
I want to be low to the ground.
It's 22-inch wheels.
If I'm going fast on a road, if I'm going off-road, I want something that's going to have some clearance.
It's got 22-inch wheels.
Well,
that's the easy way to make something clear is put big wheels on it.
I wouldn't go off-road in any Jeep except for like a 10-year-old Cherokee, regular Cherokee or Wrangler.
Really? Because the Wrangler does great.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not going to spend...
fucks up, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $35,000 on a Wrangler and then take it through the woods.
Really?
And mess it up.
Well, you're different, Michelle. You're like in the minority here.
Little side
here. Manufacture cars.
Little aside here, when Ford used to take Super Duty trucks out to Rubicon, they would take a Wrangler and a Land Rover to pull them around the trees that they got hung up on.
Yes.
I kid you not.
Yep.
Really? That's bad.
Oh, that's funny, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! So Aaron, I have to tell you, someone that just came on the line. It's our old show friend Roger Will, and Roger actually works on Sync.
Does he? Excellent.
No, don't say that because everybody's gonna tell me it sucks.
No,
hey, Roger, you know that Sync system that really stinks.
I think it's interesting right now because there's so many different options right now out there. I can't say it sucks. I can't say it's the best. I don't know, right? Like I don't drive
enough. It's the most bold. It's out there. It's like the Volt. It's bold. It's out there, but people know it.
I don't know that it's worse though. I seriously.
It's not worse. I wouldn't say it's worse, but it's got a lot of issues at the moment, and I can't really talk because my employer might judge me for it. So.
Let's just say it's had some serious teething problems.
I think it is because some people are like, I don't like that Hyundai's blue whatever does this, and I don't like that Kia does this, and I don't like. I mean,
right.
I don't know that anybody's doing it the best right now. Some people are using the cloud. Some people are using an integrated system. Some people. I mean, I don't know.
I think people are just trying to figure out what works at the moment and then go from there. They're just throwing everything against the wall and then seeing what sticks.
Right.
I
just put a Bluetooth in my ear and
The system that I used recently that I have to admit is, I think, one of the better designed ones on the market. It's not voice control, although it does have an option. Is the Audi Audi MMI system.
Oh God, I hate that system.
I'll tell you why I like it. I like it because of the way the menus and the screens and the buttons are laid out, in that it all falls right to your right hand. You put your right hand on the control knob, and you can look at the screen, and you know that the buttons forward correspond to the two tops of the screens, and the buttons downward correspond to the two lower ones. And after about 5 minutes of just getting familiar with it, you can navigate through the menus completely intuitively without even really looking at your hand, looking for a button. It just works so easily and so well once you actually got used to exactly how the thing correlates, that I think it's really, really well done.
See, that's the thing that annoys me. It's all the buttons and stuff. At first I thought, this is going to be great. And then I spent like 20 minutes trying to figure this out. It's like, oh my God.
But there's only 4 buttons in one knob. And the 4 buttons just can correspond to each corner of the screen. The knob selects between them. When you get it, I guess it clicks to the point where it feels so intuitive. And I have to admit,
I agree on that.
The Google Earth navigation system is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
I haven't seen this before. They're using Google Earth.
They are using, what it works is you basically link up your phone.
I'll just disclaim this. I hate VW with Audi. I hate them. But yeah. I will reluctantly observe whatever they're doing.
The new Audi system, the new Highline Audi nav system, has the option whereby it uses basically a Wi-Fi connection, so it's live updates from Google Earth in terms of how you're driving. So as you're driving through the city, you look on the screen and it looks like you're driving through a city. It's really something. Until you get out into the country, into a part of the world where they don't have the resolution that you really want.
So going back
true.
to Sync,
yeah. But you know what? That's actually pretty good for the Audi demographic, because you guys don't leave like urban areas and.
It's true, right? Most of the time they're parked in parking garages.
Audi drivers don't leave. Audi drivers are the people who decide not to shower.
Calling in for their sushi takeout.
Right. Sushi takeout, don't shower.
Sometimes you have to go antiquing. Sometimes when you're going antiquing, you have to leave the city.
Right, exactly. You may need to go to your house and update
No,
yours.
all you city dwellers have already picked all the good antiques, so unless you... it's not even worth going. Unless it's a nice road. It's a nice road that's worth going.
Well, so going back to Sync, I mean, the initial system was so good. They set the bar so high that, I mean, it kind of naturally follows that any slight hiccup with...
Right, so Roger, Dave is an engineer, by the way.
Is what?
Dave is an engineer.
Okay, good.
Yeah, export engineer. So, I mean, I was very skeptical of Sync pre-launch when I was in the quality group and worked really hard with Raul. I won't say his last name to make sure that it all worked well.
Right, because there's so many guys at Ford called Raul.
Right.
Identity.
There actually are. There's probably
more than about 100, I guarantee you.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, the 2.0 system, sure, there's a few issues, and it's not ideal to download system updates when you're 1.2 miles from your next turn, but
yeah,
they'll iron that out. I mean, they've done the right thing from a PR standpoint to say, we screwed up, we're working hard to make it right, acknowledge the issue.
Well, I have an interim version right now, and it still sucks, but it sucks less.
Yes. I had a demonstration. Alan Hall actually gave me a demonstration of next generation Sync, and I can't talk too much about it, obviously, but there are improvements that are coming.
It's better. Yeah. I've seen it also, but still, I have to give my employer credit because we've gone beyond what the marketplace has, and we've taken a bold stance. And, and haven't really suffered too many slings and arrows as a result of it. And in fact, it I think the market is demanding this from a segment that's younger.
Yes.
And we're there. We're actually there. We're probably ahead of it, and that's a good thing.
Well, the thing is, you have to stay ahead of it, and that's the tricky part, is trying to stay ahead of it and trying to anticipate what's next and what's coming. It's when you're looking at the electronics industry, when you're looking at the mobile app industry, it's on a 6-month cycle. I mean, if that. I mean, in terms of development and reinvention, whereas you've got a 2-3 year cycle at the auto industry level, which is difficult to accommodate. So, to try and keep those two synced, to use a pun, synced together. In terms of constant updates, it's very difficult to do, but it's a challenge for sure.
I still carry my backpack from 5 years ago that has like Sync and Sirius and a little dot on it. A little dated. It's my favorite backpack.
Sirius, who are they?
What?
Well, the challenge is
isn't that
up,
a constellation in the sky?
Yeah.
Right. The challenge is syncing up, automotive development cycles with IT development cycles. They're not the same.
No, not at all.
No.
I always thought a cool idea would be to just make the center stack nav / infotainment system kind of an external monitor for your phone. So as you went and updated your phone and got the latest, greatest 4G, Twitter, yada, yada, stumble upon whatever, the screen just echoed what your phone was capable of, because that's always going to stay ahead of what your car's capable of.
Well, Ford's a lot closer to that than GM is.
Oh,
absolutely,
sure.
That's true.
Yes.
I mean, Ford's actually a lot closer to that than anybody else in the marketplace right now.
They've dedicated a lot more resources to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's really, I hate to use the phrase because it's so overused, but I mean, it really is a paradigm shift for Ford, because I was there almost 17 years and they always prided themselves on being, quotes, fast followers.
Yes.
Wasn't always so true, but they jumped out into the, among the leaders versus, wait and see.
Right.
Always second, but a fast.
We've always been fast followers.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you know what? I'm gonna. Okay, I remember several years ago being in the studio in Irvine at the Ford Design Studio, right? And we did a Lincoln presentation that was where I first fell in love with my heartthrob, also known as the C concept. And
really?
What?
Shut up! I love it, y'all. Shut up.
Was this the Lincoln C?
That little concept, the
I love it. Shut up! I call it the mini killer. So they had this tech presentation where it was this woman's voice, and she was called. It was the same as that movie with the robots. It was like Evo or Uvo or something like that, and then Kia ended up like using a name very similar. And
well,
she was
Kia used Uvo.
Right. And okay, so what's that movie with the little robot that? Oh God! Come on, Mud. This is your generation.
No, I don't watch movies. I'm like Craig in that
a bunch of guys with robots. Yeah, Michelle, offload us.
It's this little animated film with a robot, and I can't.
Wall-E?
Animation.
Wall-E, yes.
Wall-E, okay, animated.
Got it.
And his girlfriend, like Lincoln named their little application.
Guys who like robots don't have girlfriends.
Yeah.
It's kind of oxymoronic.
Well, it's okay, because I guess he's called Wally, and I always call him Wall-E, because that's how it's spelled. But yeah, they presented this whole thing where there was going to be this virtual.
Guys who like robots don't have girlfriends.
According to the Wikipedias, Wall-E's girlfriend was named Eve, E-V-E, extraterrestrial vegetation evaluator.
Not the kind of girl I would go after.
Right, and that was her name. Ben just reminded me too on IM, and that was her name, and she was supposed to be but she was very skinny and blonde. In the Lincoln.
Yeah, right. Animated, skinny and blonde. Got it.
Right.
Oh boy.
No, I understand what you're talking about, Michelle.
I'm worried about where this conversation is
not the
going.
kind of guys, not the kind of girl that an engineer or an IT guy was going to get.
Okay, so my question is, so I have a couple of engineers here. So when we were at the design studio and they were showing this, and I got in the car and they did this little display thing, in the center stack where they were like showing me what it would do. Was that just like a DVD running behind the IP?
Probably.
God, I'm so gullible.
were you asking it for Chinese restaurant recommendations or something?
Well, no. I mean, of course, the engineer that was showing me, the product guy, was asking for everything, and it just responded to him.
Oh, you didn't realize it was scripted.
Did you ask him to look up, Thai food in some local city just to throw him off?
Yeah, I should have, huh?
Oh, well.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was live. You never know if it was an early version of Sync.
Well, just a little trivia on that C concept. I don't know this for sure, but I was in the automotive strategy group at the time, and every year Ford has this group of new employees who go through an orientation, and they at the end of their presentation in this NEO group, they do a Piper project. That's sort of like the culmination of everything they've learned. One of the Piper projects was so good that we pitched it to the director and then the vice president and then the group president, and it was exactly this C car to do a Lincoln Focus. And I believe this C concept was the result of that Piper project.
I mean, the C's coming. It's going to be different now, though. I mean, it's a little bit different.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm glad that you guys have gotten that kind of influence.
I just thought it was awesome. I mean, these were all people that were 3 to 5 months of college, and they looked at the whole portfolio.
And we're missing this product, and we have to do this, right?
Right. Yeah, they looked at Audi C cars and BMW C cars and everybody else in that marketplace. Like, well, if Lincoln isn't going to die like Mercury, well, why don't we have a C car?
Well, that, and they want to take Lincoln global. They're already talking about taking Lincoln to China, and that is the largest segment in the world is the C segment.
Well,
so,
they have to compete with Buick, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're not competing with Buick. Buick, come on.
As long as they don't do a
Buick's huge
Cadillac
in China.
DLS, we're all good.
Buick's huge in China, but nowhere else.
It's the fastest growing brand in the United States.
It's doing
not
pretty
really.
good.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, show me the numbers.
I can. They actually are. By percentages, they actually are the fastest growing brand in the United States as of the first half of the year. It's remarkable. They are really selling quite a few of them, and when Verano comes out, I have a feeling they're going to be selling even more of them.
Sure.
How many do they sell?
How many do they really sell this month?
I can go pull it up.
How many?
This is what you get for having an analyst on the phone with you, Roger.
Well, it's ironic because I just looked at a great presentation today on this subject, and I'm typing in the URL right now.
I got to pull up yesterday's data. I think I deleted it already.
I mean, the irony, of course,
I saw a Regal today for the first time in 2 weeks. I like the Regal. I saw one for the first time in 2 weeks.
The Regal GS is super fun.
It is. It's a great car, but I'm not seeing many on the road. And I'm in Detroit.
Well, that's fairly because they haven't. I don't think have they put it out for sale yet?
I'm not sure that they've gone to market yet. I'm not sure that they're actually on the lot because they still don't even have the.
I live south of Dearborn. I have no idea where to buy a Buick.
Well, go to Buick.com and use their dealer locator.
I never judge anything by what I see around the Detroit area. I never judge a car's performance by what I see around the Detroit area.
No, I go to Chicago a lot. I half the time live in Chicago and New York. And I don't see Buicks. I don't see Buicks.
Go to either
coast. See them.
Okay, so does anybody see a point of a Verano, the luxury compact car?
Let's see here.
Because that's the one where I'm like, it's 4 inches shorter than the Regal. I'm not sure why they're making a Verano.
Calendar year to date, Buick has sold 140,000 cars in the United States, up 22%.
Most of them are the crossover.
Up 22%. Most of them are actually passenger cars.
And multiply that by 4 or 8, and that'll be China, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's far larger in China, and that's really one of the reasons that they kept the thing.
Who cares about China? We live in the U.S.
Who cares
That's the American
about
mentality right there.
China?
Who cares
I don't care about China because China is actually not making GM any money.
As a tax-subsidized shareholder of GM, you ought to care about China because it is a huge piece of their revenue.
Yeah, but they're not
and
making any
their
money there. They're not making any money there.
Big money there.
China's making all the money for General Motors right now.
Okay, then if that's all, if GM is offering subsidized Buicks in China is all their value prop.
Well, then they're not necessarily
That's a problem.
subsidized. It's just the labor rates and local manufacture. I mean, they can churn out a car for probably a 30-35% of what it
GM's
costs.
value prop right now is the Cruise. If you don't understand that, you're not watching what's going on in the marketplace.
Friend, actually, GM's value prop.
Wait, you just have to say Aaron Bradman, who is the
Cruise. Wait.
Hi,
Hi, this is the kettle calling.
Senior
Hi.
analyst for IHS. The value prop for General Motors is what it has been for the last 30 years, and that's full-sized pickup trucks. I guarantee
Well,
you.
yeah, but Ford's killing GM in the full-size pickup truck market. So
Cruise and
Silverado is
Cafe, just like Focus does for Ford.
the best-selling truck is the Chevrolet Silverado.
Sure, when you tape $5,000 to the hood of it, sure, absolutely.
The incentives dropped 5% last month.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We're not going to get in this argument. So, all right,
Okay.
We got GM fanboys here. Michelle, I'm going to have a good night.
I know you already are.
I don't think I've ever been accused of being a GM fanboy before.
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
You were
I've been accused of a lot of stuff. I've never been accused of that. That's a new one.
That was awesome.
Sorry.
I love,
But
I love
getting
him.
back,
He's a great guy.
I'm still here. I haven't hung up, but
You're awesome. You're great.
getting back to
I wish I had more time to call into this show. It's actually the most fun automotive show there is. So.
Oh, well,
Aw, that's so sweet.
absolutely.
Okay, so tell me about the C concept. Roger.
Yeah. I don't know much about it. I've been studying for my MBA right now. I have not spent much time on it.
All right, just for reference, because Aaron's still like typing there. GM sales in China, 2009, 1.83 million.
I know there's a lot of sales, but how much are they stealing your intellectual property and taking your profits?
That's
GM, none.
Oh, bullshit!
Oh, you guys,
Bullshit!
But interestingly, Roger has actually been in public office. Aaron, I actually think you would enjoy each other politically as well. So just FYI.
I enjoy almost everyone, Michelle.
I know you do.
Almost.
No, I just think GM has got my candid impressions.
Yeah.
I guess I can't give them because they're actually recruiting me, so I can't say much about it right now.
Not after they hear you talk this way.
GM's great. Go GM.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
In the link,
I don't know. I just think that my bottom line is that they have to do things that are profitable and not politically driven. And
they are.
I see a lot of politically driven stuff out of GM, unfortunately.
Like
but the Volt.
Volt is politically driven in a way that I think a lot of these EV programs are politically driven. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
You have to do
That's
it.
True.
You're gonna
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
At least they didn't put a sticker that's 4 feet by 6 feet down the side like they did on the Tahoe.
Yeah, that says Volt.
Yeah, that really worked well. Go for it. Hybrid Tahoe. Go for it.
You know, in terms of
just what the greenies in Ann Arbor want is a SUV, a full-size SUV. Go for it.
It's kind of ironic, though, in terms of the vehicles that could most benefit from hybrid-style technology.
Well, that's true, but it's marketing.
It's not.
But it's not fact. It's marketing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it turned the Tahoe fuel economy from really crap to not quite so crap.
But it saved a lot of gas.
Well, the interesting part is when you look at the percentage gain by adding the hybrid system, It's huge. It's almost 30% gain in fuel economy. You know, what does that mean?
That's why Rick Wagner
13
approved
to 14.
Rick Wagner saw the numbers. He approved it. But you know what? Rick Wagner had no clue about what the marketing, but what greenies were going to buy.
Well, I don't think
it was the worst place to spend money. And then my opinion about the Volt is like it's trying to solve a problem that nobody has. That's my fear of it.
Right. What is it they need to actually, to meet their numbers right now, they need to sell 2,000 cars a month for like the next 3 months.
They probably will. They'll figure out a way of selling them. I think they will, but at the end of the day is that...
Wait, they're going to be giving away Aveos first.
Well, the thing is it like a buy a product and give an Aveo for free deal or something?
Gotta call them Sonic.
You see, I'm not buying into the whole Volt is not a sales success mantra right now that I'm seeing from a lot of places like Jalopnik and a couple others, because here's the situation as I see this. They've just last month
website, by the way, Aaron.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm sorry.
Relevant website.
Relevant website.
It's enthusiasts. It's not what people. It's not people that are actually spending money.
Well, I'm sorry. The point I was going to make. I don't understand. I don't understand where you went. But the point I was going to make with the Volt is that they just started selling them in all Chevrolet dealerships last month. So I mean, for the first part of this month, you couldn't buy a Volt at your local Chevy dealership.
They haven't bought them in the places they thought were most likely to buy them. Why would the other places buy them?
They also haven't had very much in the way of inventory either for most of the summer.
No, they've had a lot of inventory. I live near the battery plant. There's no cars next to it. There's no cars next to it. There's nobody buying these things. The reality is that
it's really a brilliant strategy, though, because to go straight from internal combustion to electric, where people have range anxiety, is scary. Mm-hmm. So to have this transitional product where you get the best of both worlds, you don't have to worry about...
That's what MBAs think. I'm an MBA student. You know what? That's what MBAs think. But you know what? The people who are going to buy those things don't give a shit about whether it's got a range extender or not. It's either a Prius or it's a pure EV. That's the problem. GM doesn't get this.
Yeah, but a Prius isn't gonna leave them on the side of the road like a Leaf is gonna.
Exactly, but you know what? The people who are not worried about being left on the side of the road buy a Leaf.
Yeah.
There's you're trying to have this unholy compromise in the middle, and it's not working. That's the problem.
Like someone said earlier, I'm biased because I live in Detroit and I've yet to see a Leaf, and one of my Facebook
because they won't sell them here.
That they don't actually exist. That it's just a big marketing scam.
Well, yeah. Do you work for GM?
No export.
Okay,
so
the reality is the Leafs exist. The Leafs do exist. They're selling.
So your point was we haven't seen one here because they don't sell them here. So how is that different than they haven't sold enough Volts because they don't sell them in most of the country?
Because you guys are also saying that the Volt is only not everywhere because they're not building them. That's bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit because for
most of it is bullshit because I live right next to the battery plant that nobody's next to right now.
I don't care where you live. They shut down the plant for most of July to switch over to the 2012 model.
That's crazy. No, because you know what? They claim the battery is the limiting factor, and I'm like right next to the battery plant, and nobody's there. Nobody's there.
Is Michael Buffalo around here? You don't know. Just saying.
Michelle, you got me started on something I shouldn't have gotten started on. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's interesting though, right?
I also live in an urban area half the time.
Right, exactly.
And the idea here's my big problem with the Volt is they claim that people in cities are going to buy the Volt. But you know what? I have a $300,000 condo in Chicago, and I do not have a dedicated parking space to plug the goddamn thing in.
That is a real problem.
That's like most of us here.
So put some gas in it.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Then I'm going to buy a Prius, or I'm going to buy a Fusion Hybrid.
Sounds like you need a Volt.
Won't be buying a Leaf though, will you?
No, it won't be. You're right. The Leaf is a person who's got a dedicated spot in a dedicated, a short commute. And besides, it goes 110 miles on a charge, unlike the Volt.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does actually. I drove it here in Detroit in cold weather. I drove it here in Detroit in cold weather, and I got 70 miles.
To get 110 miles is a very carefully planned rare occurrence.
In 45-degree weather, I got 75 miles here in Detroit.
Batteries love cold weather.
Flat land.
As long as you're not at minus something.
Yeah. If you can keep the heater off.
The Volt is an answer to a question that nobody but GM marketing people are asking. That's my point.
But that's not a revelation. Bob Lutz said that at the 2008 Chicago Auto, or was it Chicago or LA? That they'd never expected to make any money on it. They just knew they needed to do it to break into a technology and get the volumes up to where they could be profitable in the future.
They had a better strategy by pursuing hydrogen, in my opinion.
Hydrogen?
Ooh.
Yes.
I don't want to be near you when you crash.
Well, you know what? It's better than the Volt, which is a compromise, and Ford's over here selling strong hybrids like Toyota is and making money on them.
Making money on it?
Yeah, they're making money on them, absolutely. They're not making many of them. They're only making enough for people to actually pay who are willing to pay for them at a profit. Just like Toyota.
You think Toyota makes money on the hybrids?
Yes.
Okay.
I know they do. That's why they're nickel metal hydrides. They're old yesterday's technology.
Okay.
Prius?
Yeah.
Maybe they've started to make money in the last year.
Last couple of years. Yeah, right. Well, it was an investment. It was an investment, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But, I mean, the idea, GM basically sold the Volt for urban dwellers. But you know what? They have no clue what urban dwellers really need.
I don't actually think that's true. I
said, listen to Bob Lutz pitch this to me as an urban dweller.
Okay, wait. But Bob Lutz was living in the city. I'm talking about someone who, comes from the red states where people are actually considering would they have a Leaf or would they have a Volt. And when you live, your closest city is 3 hours away, people want a Volt.
No, they want an F-150 or they want a Silverado.
No, there are a lot of people in those areas who are willing to consider, they want to do something different. They want to. And the ones with money would do a Volt before they would ever do a Leaf.
Yeah, but that's a niche because if they really want to do something, they'll buy it.
Guess what? The entire market is a niche market. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, true. That's true. I'm just saying that I think that the idea of Lutz seeing a vision when there's this guy pulling a trailer full of batteries behind the EV1 is faulty. Because that's what he's claiming in his book. He saw this vision, I see this trailer behind this EV1 giving it a range extension. Why can't we put that on a car? It sounds like bullshit to me.
Wait, you don't have those dreams? I have those constantly.
Yeah, I do too, but I'm not making product decisions for a Fortune, whatever company.
You obviously haven't seen those pictures online of the air conditioner duct taped in the window and the Honda genset in the trunk.
Yes, that was awesome.
Gotcha.
That's
I don't know. I just
the,
think that I understand. I
extender
respect the technology investment they're making, but I think you need to go do something either pure EV or improve strong hybrid technology. That's sort of where I'm at with it.
Well, and Aaron, this kind of brings us back to our conversation about Tesla, right? Because I got a lot of criticism because I said forever that the Volt was vaporware. And, it turned out to be a real car. It does, for some people, reduce range anxiety, and they love the idea of it. And it may be marketing or it may not be. But it's not what they said it was going to be, right? And, is Tesla going to ever really produce a car that is going to be what people think it is?
From what I'm told, they are throwing money at it, and they will have something pop out the other end of the plant at some point. But
Tesla's
it's not
a whole other matter.
It's not even so much whether or not they're going to produce the car. The question is when they do produce the car, which I think they will. You don't throw $1 billion at something and not have something come out the other end of the plant.
No, unless you go build a spaceport.
Wait, look at Solyndra. Look how much they spent on Solyndra.
Solyndra is a completely different situation.
No, it's not, though. But you know what? Tesla got government money for this thing.
Yeah. So they actually have money.
I'm not sure. Elon Musk. I'm not buying Elon Musk is going to deliver anything what he claims he's going to claim to.
Can I
deliver.
finish my statement?
Sure.
Thank you. When you put this much money towards something and you're actually going to build a car, they actually have something that's coming. I know suppliers that are working on it. But the problem is, and this is similar to Solyndra, the market that they're entering with the product that they're coming up with is not necessarily going to be competitive with what's out there, because there are going to be competitors to Tesla when Tesla's Model S gets to market. So we're going to see an Infinity version of the Leaf. We're going to be seeing the Fisker Karma if it actually gets here, and I give that even less chance, frankly, than Tesla. We're going to see. We'll see second-gen Volt eventually coming out. We're going to see the Ampera. We'll see the Cadillac ELR coming down as well. It's not going to be cheap, I'm sure. So when Tesla finally gets to market with an $80,000 or however much it's going to cost sedan that supposedly seats 7 people, and I'm not exactly sure how 7 people are going to fit in the thing.
I saw those pictures. That's a bunch of BS, but okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. But when that thing finally gets to market, it's going to face a raft of competitors with much deeper pockets, with marketing muscle, with distribution muscle, with a reliability, with all kinds of things. So I mean, it's not so much that is Tesla going to make it, because I'm thinking more and more likely that they will make a car, but I don't think that Tesla is going to be able to stand on its own 2 feet much beyond the job one of that thing. It's got to be bought out by somebody. It's got to have somebody else come to the party and take control. I think Tesla would make an excellent luxury EV brand for Toyota. You put Tesla in the same showroom as Lexus, and now you give luxury buyers an alternative to the Lexus hybrids that frankly
isn't Toyota bankrolling them sort of by the whole NUMMI plant thing?
Yep. They gave them $50 million.
But are we going to end up with an active hybrid 7 Series hybrid that costs $110,000 that doesn't make any sense? I mean, seriously, like, why wouldn't somebody just go buy a Spark?
Well, it makes a lot of sense for Elon Musk. He's going to make a lot of money.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, but I mean, the people who are involved right now with the management of Tesla, it makes a ton of sense. They're going to get out, they're going to sell their IP, and they're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're ragging on Tesla, why not talk Fisker? I mean, I'm looking at my...
Well, Fisker isn't even worth our time. Fisker's done.
I'm looking at my Fisker USB press kit from 2008 and smiling.
Exactly.
I get a phone call about once every 2 months from the Delaware newspaper.
When I think of Fisker, I think of P.T. Barnum.
I get a call every couple of months from the Delaware newspaper where Fisker's opened the plant, or bought the plant from GM. Yeah. And every time they have a new announcement... Every time they have a new announcement saying, well, here's, Fisker's saying the latest thing, what do you think? I'm like, what's changed? Nothing's changed. They're still saying they're going to do X and Y and making big grandiose claims, but the fact is, their sales figures for the Fisker Karma, they want to sell somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15,000 a year.
Good luck with that.
That would make it more popular than the BMW 7 Series.
Good luck with that.
Okay, so don't you think at some point, though, some of these startups are more on instead of being manufacturers, and as you said earlier, they're coach builders, right? Aren't they more about the franchise model and then being acquired?
Yeah, they're not even coach builders, Michelle. You're giving a lot more credit. They're PowerPoint builders.
Fisker was.
They're PowerPoint builders. They build slide decks.
Right.
Fisker actually was a coach builder. They were rebodying 6 Series BMWs and Mercedes SL convertibles to things like the Fisker Tramonto and various...
Did they ever actually deliver any vehicles?
Yeah, they did. Actually. I've seen a few in California and LA.
They're like a Maserati TC?
Sorry?
Is that like a Maserati TC?
No, it's basically some rich guy brings his 6 Series convertible to Heinrich Fisker and says, put leather on every conceivable interior surface and make the headlight and taillights a little bit different.
They were bespoke.
Oh, so it wasn't a powertrain thing. It was just it was like a
coach builder.
I don't know.
A coach.
That'd be a coach builder. It's like it was like Pimp My Ride.
Why do you have to put
Ride
Spiker down like that, Michelle?
I love Spiker. Don't get me wrong.
It was Pimp My Ride stuff.
Spiker just got bought by an American private equity firm.
That's right. To be divested, I'm sure.
Save Spiker, lose the sob.
Well, the thing is, if Elon Musk does sell Tesla out to Toyota or whomever, I can't begrudge him that, because frankly, that's his MO. He's an entrepreneur. That's what he does. He builds things, builds it up, sells it, flips it, earns some money, moves on. That's what he did with PayPal. I mean, that's just how it works. And
I agree with that. I mean, I agree. I completely agree with that. He has a lot more money than I do, and he has a lot more money than I ever will. So
people shouldn't be surprised when he does it, I think is what the thing is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
like
he shouldn't be surprised when people like us question him on his motives.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So that's the only little bit of countervailing thing we've got is that, I don't know. I think the fact that he's got Toyota money and he's got the NUMMI plant he's way ahead of the game of everybody else. But at the same time, they're building cars based on AA battery lithium-ion cells. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what?
Imagine what the warranty claims are going to be when those go beyond 100 vehicles. It's insane.
If somebody gave me the NUMMI plant, let me tell you what I would do. I would have the biggest roller skating rink in the world.
I was thinking laser tag, but that probably works.
Yeah, but laser tag is good.
Laser tag with roller skates.
Oh my God, that's just you'll hurt yourself.
And you know what? They're never going to be able to use that entire plant. The entire plant is completely outdated.
It's a massive plant. It's at least 4 to 5 times bigger than what they actually need over there. And
actually, you know what? Here in Michigan, there's this massive effort to grow medical marijuana. I'm sure they could use that whole plant to grow weed.
Yeah, but in California,
it's California.
Have a disco joint right next to it.
Absolutely, a disco joint in a medical marijuana place.
And an ice cream place.
That still fits with the laser tag roller skates.
But it's California. You don't need to do that inside with grow lights like Michigan. You just.
Maybe that'll be Elon Musk's actual exit strategy to actually.
I love Elon Musk. I give him a lot of credit. He's a really smooth dude, and he's really ahead of things. But at the same time, I'm sure we will not see many white stars on the road.
No.
Has anybody ever seen videos or pictures of when Camaros were rolling out of that plant?
Camaros?
We're talking
No, they had Camaros before they had the Corolla and the Geo Prism. Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was.
60s.
Sure.
Fremont was Camaros.
Yeah.
Fremont did that, and I think they did like the small trucks before that too.
Before they moved Camaro production to Quebec.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Than Oshawa.
But who builds cars in the Bay Area? I mean, come on.
Well, that's the thing,
money?
right? It's one of the most expensive places
to
to live in our entire country.
It's the most expensive place to make anything, too.
Well, we're on the subject. Okay, GM learned a crap load from NUMMI and Toyota in the beginning, and then Saturn was born. And then at some point, they lost their way and started making Saturn-badged crap. And we know what happened to that brand. But
hey, wait a minute, Dave. A second. Every Saturn I see on the road, their headlights are clear and their bodies are undented because they're basically impervious. So
I don't know. I saw an Ion a couple weeks ago that had duct tape over the plastic.
How do you say their headlights are clear? I would agree that their bodies are dented, but
I think
the original Saturns. The original Saturns run forever.
Great brand, and then what's his name died, and they became rebadged Saabs and Cadillac BLSs and
Opals.
The Saturn.
Actually, I got a woman who works for me whose husband loves Saabs, and I call his Saabs rebadged Saturns, and he bristles when I say that. That's what they are. And in fact, I would say I'm offering the Saab a compliment by saying that.
I don't know. It seemed like such a shame to me because I'm dating myself here. But when I joined GM, the Saturn thing was just starting up, and they offered to transfer me to Spring Hill, and foolishly, well, maybe not so foolishly in retrospect, I didn't do it. And what a fantastic thing that it was so good they didn't want people to know it was a division of GM.
Yeah.
And
they created a brand they did not know what to do with.
And then just slowly it became another has-been Pontiac.
I actually have a friend who's got a Sky Redline, and it was kind of fun to ride, and I ride around in it every so often. It's kind of fun.
Good luck finding parts for it.
Speaking of Fisker / Wilmington.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck finding parts for a Sky, unfortunately. I have a lot of friends that have Solstice and Sky, and anything from body parts to mechanical parts are just almost impossible to find, and they're extremely expensive.
Well, it's like a TIG welded tube frame chassis.
Well, this
right?
is a doctor. She doesn't care. As long as it stays running, I'll find something for it. I do the oil changes for her. It's got a massive cowl shake. I can't imagine that Lutz green-lighted that car because it's got massive. I mean, I would say a Mustang from '89 had less cowl shake than this car.
Well, the other thing, the pack wasn't great either. I mean, if you're over 5'11" or 6 foot, forget it.
No, I'm 6 foot 275, and I barely fit in it, but the belt does buckle. I'll give it that. The belt does buckle.
I didn't find it comfortable. I never found the Solstice to be comfortable at all. I found the seats to be shaped in such a way that my shoulders were like 3 inches behind the small of my back. It was just not a comfortable car to sit in, I thought.
Well, how did Lutz ever greenlight that? Because presumably they put him in one and let him drive it. Are
you kidding me? It was small, it was parts bin, and it was pretty damn good looking. I mean, why not?
That's all they had to go with at the time. I give them that credit, but I mean, actually, you know what? It's a good looking car.
No, I'm not saying it's not a good car. I'm just saying, what did they like?
No, it's not a good car, but it's a good looking car, and it's somewhat fun to drive, and it was all GM had at the time.
They got it out quick, and I'm sure that second generation of that car would have been probably pretty fantastic.
Well, and you have to remember that when he was pushing that, he was working hard against things like the Aztec.
Yeah, Aztec Mark Royce. He's in charge now. Good luck with that.
Pretty easy to greenlight something as attractive as the Sky when you're fighting crap like the Soul or Aztec.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got Aztec Mark Royce, and you got what's his name, Ackerson. Good luck, GM. Good luck.
What was a Silhouette? What were the crap?
Are they interviewing you?
Minivans.
What's that?
Are they interviewing you?
I know, right?
No, I hope not.
They were.
So, Roger, we were wondering about these conversations you were having.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Well,
I'll fix British motorcycles for a living. I'll work on old Nortons if I have to.
Aw, Nortons, love them.
Yeah, I'm into Vespas lately. I got a bunch of old Vespa scooters I've been working on.
It's so funny. I keep accidentally saying things on Twitter about my Motobicane, and people think I'm talking about a motorcycle, and I'm actually talking about a bicycle.
Those things are awesome. You have a Motobicane bicycle or a moped?
I have a Motobicane bicycle from the early 70s.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. 70s era, probably. Do you have an orange one or a blue one?
It's that
color?
Ferrari gold bronze color.
Oh, awesome.
Not that we
I'm
should
about the only person who knows that about him. I got to go. My girlfriend's texting me saying I'm a terrible boyfriend.
You're a terrible boyfriend, Roger.
Bye.
Trying to get you to
go. We'll do it again next time.
Trying to get you to go Volt shopping?
Yeah, that's what she wants to do. Like, take me Volt shopping.
You know what, though? You guys, this is so funny. So there's this woman at my company that she drives whatever her husband tells her to drive. And he would show up and pick her up for lunch in an H2 that's like completely tricked out with like all the chrome and everything.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. They've got like a whole apparently stable of cars. And so her daily driver was an SLK AMG.
That's fun.
It was fun. And then one day she came up to me in the coffee room and she goes, do you know what a Nissan Leaf is? And I went, well, yeah. I mean, we have it on the site. Like, you can go research it. Like, they're electric.
Yeah, there's somebody who works at Auto by Tel.
Right.
And doesn't know the Leaf.
Well, remember, like, we have, like, lawyers and tech people that aren't car people, right? Like,
but they don't know they can go to autobytel.com to look at this.
But she wanted to know if I'd been in one, right? So I was like, yeah, and I kind of, like, gave her the lowdown. And she's like, okay, well, I just drive kind of whatever my husband tells me. And he wants me to drive something that's more fuel efficient. And then she showed up last week when Jeff Ross was in the office visiting us. And she's like, my Volt is in the parking lot. And Jeff goes, so wait, you went from an SLK AMG? And she goes, well, it was AMG. It had an S. Like, I'm not kidding you, which is fine. Like, I mean, that's literally how some consumers are, right? Like, they just drive the car that somebody gives them.
Nothing pisses me off more than people who have cars that don't know what they have.
Like
I
an
know,
Austin
but
Martin?
so Jeff was like, well, but how's that going from like that car to a Volt? And she was like, well, he got me the top of the line one. We'll see.
They're all the top of the line one.
I know, that's kind of what I wanted to say. She was like, I got the pearl white. I was like, really?
Wow.
That's awesome. And
well, the good news is her fuel range is double what the AMG SLK
Yes, that
was.
is true.
Right,
sure,
so I
probably
did,
dropped
and
too.
to see like what her mileage would, like what her MPG would have been, and I was like, okay, you know what? Her husband's actually just being really practical right now, and she's okay with it. I mean, that's okay.
That's like,
and you know what? I gotta
BMW.
disagree with Roger. I think the Volt is fantastic. I think it's an extraordinary piece of engineering. And to call it the answer to the question that nobody asked, I got to disagree with that.
Yeah, that's the Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet, which I love.
Bingo! I think the Volt is an extremely good compromise for the American market and how people use it.
I agree with you, Aaron. Actually, and you know, it's funny because I mean, Roger lives in Detroit. His significant other is in Chicago, so he drives a Fiesta.
Well, he lives next to the battery plant, Michelle.
Yeah, right over there.
Know.
There are no trucks going in and out.
No, there's nobody there.
Nobody there.
It must have been June.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
But no, I think it's a great compromise. You can have one of those things and keep it as the only car. And whereas, you know, for a Leaf, you can't do that. I think a Leaf is a second car. It's a limiting thing. And to say that the range on a Leaf is 100 miles is, I think, disingenuous because.
We have a guy in the chat room who comes on regularly. Indy Flick is his user ID, and he says that he has gotten 115 on his.
Yeah, you can
but
do
I think he's probably hypermiling, right?
Well, here's the problem. Here's the thing. When you consider that, your range in any EV, not just a Leaf, is not the maximum range. It's the range. It's half that basically because you have to get home again. So when you consider your range is 100 miles. Your range is really 50 miles. You can go 50 miles before you have to drive back to where you are or to find a charger. I mean, that's a problem that a number of people have had testing this thing. I mean, when I talked to, if you know Donnie Nordlich at Automobile Magazine here, they have a Leaf as a long-term car here in Ann Arbor. And if they want to go to Royal Oak, well, they can't in the Leaf because you can get there, but unless you find a place to plug it in, you can't get back.
Unless you have a really long 6-hour drunken lunch.
Yes, and you find some place to charge it, which you need to do on 240 volt because on 110 volt or 120 volt the Leaf
forever.
Takes 19 hours to charge.
Or you could throw a Honda generator in the trunk, which is essentially what GM has done.
Yeah. Or you put a little generator in the thing, and just in case you can't make it back home, it kicks in and gets you the rest of the way. For me, I got to admit, a Volt is actually perfect.
I think it's the ultimate answer to the range anxiety question. And there was no convincing Roger, so I stopped. But
that's what I did too.
People are not going to make the jump until they get comfortable with electric. And what's the best way to do that? Give them a gasoline reserve.
Or even not if they're comfortable. You may be perfectly comfortable with your Leaf, but the thing is, it just cannot do what a gasoline car can do, and that's a limiting factor for many people. And it automatically takes the Leaf out of their consideration set because it can't do what you normally do.
I'm surprised that pure EV makers haven't gone to something like motorcycle manufacturers did a long back, just have like a reserve switch. It's like, okay, I'm dead. I'm screwed. Now I throw this switch, and I can go 10 miles to find a charging station.
It's kind of interesting in that, the European versions of the Volt can do that. There's actually a setting where you can, because it makes sense if you're going into, like, say, a city like London, where when you get to London, you want to be able to drive in pure EV mode because you avoid the congestion charge. So when you leave your house, even if you have a full charge, you push the special button and you're driving with the gas engine on in order to get you to London. You get to London, you push the button and it puts you in full EV mode, and you can drive around London, congestion charge free. So I mean, there's ways of doing that.
I thought though, what is that mode? When I went to Hamtramck and did the little customer experience thing and drove, there was some performance boosting mode that invoked the genset more often.
Yeah, there's two settings on the actual drive on the shifter. One is the normal D, and then there's a position beyond drive, and it makes the regen more aggressive. And the fun thing to do with the Volt is to put it in the actual power mode, the sport mode, and then put that regen on.
That's what they did.
The high-tech, the aggressive regen brake system, and it's actually a lot of fun to drive that way.
That's what they did when we left the Hamtramck plant, and I drove my SL500 down there, which admittedly is like 11 years old, but honest to God, the Volt felt as fast as an SL500 in that mode.
Yeah,
it was like wicked. How they don't twist the half shafts off, I don't know.
It's a fun car to drive. It actually it feels solid. It feels expensive, which it is. And I think honestly that is going to be a problem, at least until they can get the second generation of the car out, because they are working very, very hard to get cost out of that car.
Oh, so for reference, the SLK 55 AMG is 14 city, 22 highway. So that Volt's probably looking pretty good from a fuel standpoint.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I think her husband's probably pretty happy.
Her, on the other hand, it's not so.
I don't know. If you're the kind of person that you don't know what kind of car you drive on a daily basis, and you have Bluetooth, and you have a place to plug in your iPod if she even has one. I don't even know if she does.
In the Volt, she definitely does.
Right. Well, I know, but I don't know if she has an iPod or
yeah.
Right. I mean, if you don't know what you drive, is it really that? I mean, I know it is. Like, there's that feeling when you get. It's like the difference between the Motel 6, right, and the Super 8 and the whatever they are, Hampton Suites and the Mandarin. I understand there's that difference, but if it's a daily driver, is it really that big of a deal to drive something that costs like, I don't know, $80,000 as opposed to $40,000?
Wow. Well, considering she has an SLK 55, it's like, where's that big sound, big obnoxious sound coming from the car? It's quiet. She's so like, I don't know.
What if she's one of those women that spends all of her time on the phone when she's in the car?
Then it would not matter.
The ones that I'm honking at or shooting at?
Yeah.
And giving the bird.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense to give them the bird. They're not paying attention to you.
Well, no, it just makes you feel better. It's better than me just swearing out the window, which I've done as well.
And why am I being forced to watch videos of the Nissan Cross Cabriolet on the chat?
I love you.
That's probably what Chuck Norris drives.
That's the only thing approaching Aztec in terms of bad styling.
Juke.
No, I think the Murano.
Yeah, Juke's up there.
Juke.
I love the Juke. I love the Cross Cabriolet.
I like the Juke. The Juke isn't bad,
The Juke Juke looks like an angry Pokemon. I swear to God.
That's why I like it. You can at least find it.
Its saving grace is that it is a lot of fun to drive. It is an absolute blast to drive, and from the inside, the interior is actually pretty neat. But from the outside,
I love that. I love it.
Angry Pokemon. It's just.
They're not selling the Murano Cabriolet in Canada, and I don't think we're really missing out on anything.
I drive a Cross Cabriolet when it's winter. Oh, perfect.
I would drive the Cross Cabriolet in a very thick fog so that nobody could actually see me in it.
Speaking of that website that starts with a J that's not a relevant site. Did anybody see the thing last spring? The guy driving through Detroit with the top down on his S2000 in like February.
I don't see what's wrong with that.
I've done that.
I mean, it was like full blizzard as well. That was just awesome.
That's a brave soul.
No, I like the videos that I saw online last year of people driving their snowmobiles down the lodge.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty cool. And actually, looking at the chat room, no, the Mazda 3 is not the Pokemon car. The Mazda 3 is the car that looks like a fish.
Giant.
The new one, anyway. Big, guppy, styling front end with the big grill. It looks fishy.
Yeah, at least they have some direction on their styling, unlike Honda.
Very true. Well, I don't know. Honda's got some direction. Acura's got some direction.
Well, Acura's direction is let's stick bread slicers on the front of our cars.
As long as they lose that big delta.
Yes, I do too. I love Acura, but it's just like they're trying to like make me not love them anymore. Like, what are you doing?
The parrot face company?
I'm surprised somebody isn't making a killing selling aftermarket grills for Acura, because there's got to be a big market for that.
Well, first you have to sell some Acuras.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Apparently the discounts on the ZDX are pretty impressive.
I bet.
Yeah, because I totally would want to be seen in a
BMW for free.
Actually, the back seat is so absolutely incredibly useless. Rebecca
it's so
Lindland,
hard to get into.
Well, Rebecca Lindland, one of our colleagues at IHS, she's got to be like 5'4". I mean, she's just not a tall person. She couldn't get in and out of the thing even she couldn't.
I think I banged my head trying to get in the back seat. I
have a picture actually of Suzanne Dinbo, who's like 5'11", and Michael Banofsky in the back of the ZDX. And it's really funny because their heads are they're completely having to bend their necks.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
We love this car.
Speaking of the answer to the question that nobody asked, ZDX?
Yeah.
Right? But
it's like the BMW X6 is the same thing.
The crossover's growing on me.
I was going to say.
ZDX.
ZDX falls into that category of cars I just don't understand, like the BMW X6.
Or the 5 Series GT.
Or the 5 GT.
Now, have you looked at their website, though? Starting at $46,020.
Who are they kidding?
For ZDX?
Yep.
But you know what? There's a reason they debut that car in Orange County, right? It's the land of the least. That's where everybody drives their Acuras, and it's like they just debuted the NSX at the Orange County Auto Show.
And they're
used to that nobody goes to.
And they're used to really awful facelifts.
Mhm.
Bad plastic surgery and awful facelifts.
But that new CR-V's not bad, you guys.
New CR-V doesn't look bad. I'll give them that. New CR-V.
I mean, that's one place where the Civic, but they didn't do anything. But
I'm okay with the Civic. I'm not sure about the new CR-V yet.
Well, I've seen the pictures. The pictures looked actually pretty good. The big question is going to be the interior quality, because that more than anything is where the Honda Civic has fallen down.
Absolutely.
Interior quality.
Yeah, but look at the silly Passat where that went down on interior quality, and they're up like something like 455%.
Well, that's
of course,
sells.
That's because they didn't have a 2011 model, but
it's.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Sometimes you drive sales by making the price ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't want to slander Bang & Olufsen, but can you really justify their price based on what's inside the box?
I really want one of those skinny little bitty things that looks like a pencil that's a telephone.
Right.
Oh my God, what are those things?
Cough up $600, yeah.
Yeah. Or go walking through Shinjuku in Tokyo and see what you can come up with.
Right.
They got all kinds of crazy stuff over there.
But the cachet is tied to the price, and so maybe that's their strategy on the ZDX. But the Cross Tour all-wheel drive is 34.4, and the ZDX is 46.2. So I know there's a lot of interior appointments and stuff, but
you realize once you get in, I'm driving an Acura ZDX.
I got to agree with Joel on the chat room that the Acura TSX Sport Wagons is nice. It's probably the only Acura that I think is actually appealing.
You know, the TL it's really funny because it's really nice when you're in the front seats and you're getting in and out, but the back doors are like tin cans. Like they're weighted completely different. It's like they don't ever expect anybody to use those back doors.
Acura, or the Accord is the same way. So is the Camry, believe it or not. But you know what's not is the Passat.
I was just going to say Passat wagon. How's that?
Even the Passat sedan, the new Passat, is really quite impressive. I mean, as much as
even after everybody has painted it with tire brush.
They haven't painted it as badly as they painted the Jetta, and the Jetta was deserved. I mean, the Jetta really has fallen in demonstrable quality. The Passat, though, I mean, they haven't dumbed it down. They've taken $7,000 out of the sticker price, but the interior still feels very nice. It still drives really well. It still feels like a big, solid German car.
It doesn't suffer from the twist beam rear and all that.
No, not at all. It really handles nicely, and the only problem is that it looks a little too much like an Impala. But
yes,
there's a bad mental image if you didn't already have one.
But I mean,
I want all wagons to look like a Sable wagon.
Oh God, I love my mom's Sable wagon, so I'm for that.
Speaking of wagons, how about that Holden wagon, Roadmaster wagon returns? Yes, with the fake wood on the side.
Holden Roadmaster wagon.
You guys are probably going to make fun.
Yeah, meet Sean, Aaron. He's
I run now, Aaron. If I were you.
What did I do?
Yeah, I think Aaron might eat you for lunch, Sean. But
What did I do? What did I do?
No. It's okay. Let him go. We'll let him talk.
We're just warning you.
Well, actually, Holden, when they did they were supposed to do that Pontiac G8 Sport Wagon, and that was just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, RIP G8.
Yeah, I would have picked one up in a heartbeat. V8 powered rear-wheel drive, bigger than the CTS wagon.
I know that stuff is going to pop back up under Chevy livery. I mean, beyond the PPV.
I want a PPV so bad.
Well, even better than all those was the G8 Sport Truck.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. New Caballero, El Camino.
They showed one in New York '09.
Yeah, I remember. There was the whole J website that shall not be named had a movement to try and name it the El Camino, but it was going to be a Pontiac. You can't have a Pontiac El Camino.
Yeah, Pontiac El Camino just doesn't roll off the tongue so well.
No, and the Caballero was the GMC version. Was there ever a Pontiac version?
No.
They should have had a random name like the Pontiac Tempest or something.
Yeah,
the Pontiac Freebird.
That would have worked.
Wasn't there a Pontiac concept truck thing?
There was a GMC concept truck, the Denali XT. That was at Chicago 2 years ago.
No. I mean back in the day.
Oh, that could be. I wasn't around that day.
Well, I remember the Caprice. Like there was a Caprice like El Camino concept.
Posting the URL in the thing. There you go. Okay.
Oh. The Hemmings blog. Oh, look at that. Looks like an old Tempest. El Camino. Huh.
The Grand Prix Amino.
Grand Prix Amino, yeah.
Yeah, because only pricks will buy them.
Hey now.
Don't dream it's over. I'm looking for an upload I did recently that is along similar lines. This is really, really hideous, but I gotta paste it.
I like the side skirts on this Pontiac. It's nice.
I miss Pontiac so much right now. The only American brand I actually kind of give a crap about. Well, gave a crap, so.
Pontiac?
When I fall asleep at night, I mean, there's a lot of things I miss in my life. I love the G8, GXP. I don't fall asleep at night going, I miss Pontiac.
You know, I know I will get...
Like Trans Am?
Yeah. I know I'll probably get raked over the coals for this, but I'm kind of glad, you know,
I hope
Pontiac
you said
has
raked
been
and not raped.
You know, just Pontiac has been just laid in the ground, just quietly and stuff. I'm just...
The G8 was the only Pontiac they made that was, in my lifetime, I think, that I thought was exciting.
Right, yeah, because, you know, cars like the G6, the Grand Am, the newer one. Yeah, I owned a Grand Prix, and I thought that was okay. It wasn't, like, excitement, but it was a good car.
It wasn't excitement. What did I rent a Bonneville one time?
The G8, Trans Am.
G8 was a fantastic value for the money.
Yeah, sadly, nobody bought it till it went on fire sale.
Yeah, I still lament the fact that I didn't pick up a G8 GXP for $24,000 new when you could have done that.
Are you? Wow.
That's how much the discounts were.
Oh my god.
But you can get an Aveo for free.
But do you want an Aveo for free?
No.
Is it the Aveo or is it the Sonic though?
I could not have had a G8 GXP. I would have been in so much trouble in that thing.
You're gonna be in trouble now with what you're driving.
No, not like that.
You can get one used for $30,000 now. That's the funny part.
That's the sick part, is that I could have bought one new for $24,000.
And it sold it.
Sold it 2 years later.
So no comments on my El Dorado Mino?
I saw that. It's like, I really want one of those. I've seen a couple of those around, actually.
Those were actually sold in Neiman Marcus.
El Dorado Nino?
Yeah.
So what they really should have did, they should have ended the DTS with the DTS-V.
Hey, Michelle, I called it, Michelle. Just remember that I called that he was going to bring up the DTS-V.
He totally did. Like an hour ago, Mud was like, I'm just waiting for the DTS-V talk.
How would you do that? Like put another
Sean is super predictable. Oh, you mean like
put another powertrain transaxle thing in the back, make it all-wheel drive, 2 engines, or what?
No, we're gonna be totally ridiculous.
Front-wheel drive, 3-speed automatic, 3. You know, let's see. You gotta have torsion bars. The vinyl top.
So you'd like draft a Chrysler chassis under it, or to get
Huggy Bear shag seats. Huggy Bear shag seats.
Sweet.
How about horsehair?
You know, I will admit.
No mini horsehair.
I will admit what I'm looking for on Craigslist over the last couple of weeks now that's kind of piqued my interest. As I saw one listed, and I'm like, how much fun would this be? It's a 1995 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham with an LT1 motor.
Oh, you don't want the HT 4100? If you can find one still running.
Right. Good luck, yeah.
And the DTS-V, you got to have one last Biarritz badge on the back. You know, it means absolutely nothing. You got to have it on the back.
Or Biarritz, as my grandma said.
Yeah. Just to seal in the ridiculousness.
Oh my gosh, apparently we were upsetting, I just looked on Twitter, we were apparently upsetting James Hamill, who writes for Auto by Tal, because he's a Honda Acura guy. We were pissing him off with our Acura comments.
Oh no, our Acura bashing?
Oh, get a life.
Oh no.
All we really said was that the grills are hideous. I mean, that's
it's
my fault. Like it's my fault that it's ugly.
Yeah, because I went down to Acura and said, you know what we need on these cars? We need bread slicers on these cars.
You know what, you guys? It's not the grill so much. Every time I see one come up behind me and I look in my rearview mirror, I think I have a Star Trek fan behind me.
I will
Goodbye. He has to know how ugly
driven.
the Acuras are these days.
Do you give him the? Sorry, go ahead. You've driven the Acura.
Acura TL with the all-wheel drive 6-speed manual, and it is brilliant.
It's a fun car.
Freaking brilliant.
It is a fun car to drive. I think I prefer the last generation TL to the current one.
Yeah, I've driven that, the Type S, but the torque steer is just unbelievable. I mean, honestly, if you could have the all-wheel drive with that body style from previously, that would be brilliant. That really would be.
I'm still pining for that Boss 302 that I had a couple weeks ago. Such a fun car.
Glass top?
How is it?
Was it a glass top car?
No. Nope.
The glass top, I love the glass top, but it adds so much weight.
I can't imagine it's light.
It's huge. Like the difference, I mean, just performance-wise and MPG-wise, depending on which is your, preference, it actually changes things quite a lot.
I believe it. Now, this Boss 302 I had was competition orange, and it was fun. Made great noises. I like that they piped the noise of the engine into the cockpit. I think that's a great idea.
Well, right, and so we if none of you have ever seen one of them opened up, so the deal is that they actually had, in order to improve the miles per gallon, they've actually moved the engine further forward in the bay so that it weights the car differently. And what happened was there was a user experience that got lost, and so there's a pipe, literally, that runs from the engine, and it's like a vacuum cleaner hose, and it runs up in through the back firewall into the IP, and it comes up under the dashboard, and there's no holes or anything there, but it's literally reverberating inside the IP of the dashboard. So you get the sound.
Telescopes the good engine noises into you to give you that feedback. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, and does the because some of the Mustangs there was like a switch where you could kind of like turn it on and off. Does the 302 have that? I don't even recall. I drove it only briefly on a track. Aaron?
I thought it was just a mechanical system on the 5-liter.
I'm sorry, what?
Lose Aaron?
No,
I thought
what?
there was a switch where you could like switch that sound. You could like optimize the sound if you wanted to.
A loudening switch, you mean?
Yes.
If there was, I didn't see it.
Okay.
He was distracted because he was looking at the Acura NSX eBay ad I just sent him.
I know, right?
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Oh.
If you've never driven one of those, that car is, I won't say what it is.
19.9, huh? That's a pretty good price for this.
Chubba Cheddar brought one of those over when he bought my motorcycle, and it was licensed to American Honda Motors, and he's like, "Oh, do you mind following me back to my house so my wife can look at the bike?" Gee, tough decision. I'll follow you down here on River Drive in the NSX while you vlog my motorcycle.
This one looks really good. Oh man, even the driver's seat isn't cracked or anything. Oh, look at this.
Staten Island, though. Never know.
I'll drive to Staten Island and get it.
No, I mean, it could be put together from multiple thefts. But anyway.
Such pessimism. Actually, in one of these pictures, I'm looking at a, does that say L42? There's a Stingray Camaro, or Corvette. In the third from the bottom picture. Do you see it?
Yeah, it must be.
Let's say L42 on the side. It's the only picture I see of that vet, but the vet's interesting.
In the link I sent you?
Yeah. You look on the eBay ad.
Mm.
And the picture's on the bottom of the eBay page. The third from the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Yep.
Beyond the undercarriage that I was fixated on.
Yes, the completely flawless, rust-free undercarriage.
Yes,
Oh, you guys, Ben Sanders is going to bed. We're on our own now.
Ben
oh
is
my
going
God,
to bed.
no one's listening. No one's watching us.
Well, it's midnight here as well, so yeah.
I know. Thank you, Ben.
Good night,
Good
Ben.
night. We'll be fine.
Is that a L82? L42? Can't tell. I zoomed
yeah.
the Mac.
I'm
it's
not
fixated. I think it's L82.
I'm not an expert on things old Corvette, so. But that would be a lot of fun. And the thing is, though, you look at a car like this, and you think, all right, Honda, 25 years ago, look what you did. And now we have the Cross Tour.
It's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
Where the hell is all the innovation gone? I mean, where's the cutting edge motors?
Well, that's it. Why don't we have any motors with direct injection yet?
Yeah, Toyota doesn't either.
Everybody else does. Or a turbocharged VTEC, a newer one other than the one that's in the RDX.
I mean, can you believe Hyundai has surpassed Toyota in terms of engine technology?
Well, I think they're sitting still.
Hyundai's
the LH2 was introduced as an optional high-performance small-block engine.
A whopping 250 horse.
Yeah, but how much did the car weigh? I would agree that the Sonata exterior and the interior on the Optima would be a very good combination, because I really like the inside of the Optima. I don't mind the outside of the Optima, frankly, but that would be a good combination. That whole vehicle is fantastic.
Hyundai will be in Formula One before any other Japanese automaker gets back into it. I'm saying it right here, right now. Prediction.
I'm not going to take that bet, because they've pretty much proven everybody else wrong on everything else. And please, I'm not going to call Nissan an innovator for delivering the Juke.
So, Aaron, in 1977, it was 3,650 pounds. It was not as light as people think.
Yeah, that's still pretty hefty, isn't it? Too much resin in that fiberglass body.
But yeah, so going back to what you guys were saying, Hyundai and Kia, I can't believe how much they've done with their styling in like 3 years.
Oh yeah.
And how little, or actually how much backwards Honda has gone since what? The slide started in early 2000s, and it's just been Bland-O-Matic ever since.
Yep.
I think they're trying too hard to be Toyota.
The Sonata's a CC. The Accent is a pushed-in Yaris. The Equus is actually probably original. I can't really, in the Genesis. But
the Accent is a pushed-in Yaris?
Yeah, I can't see that.
The Accent is frankly one of the best small cars on the road, I think, and it's one of the few.
Well, and it's a lot bigger
compact.
than the Yaris.
It is, and
bigger than
Accent.
It's an awesome car. It's amazing.
Yeah. Accent is one of the few subcompacts I think that looks good as a sedan too. Because you look at things like Fiesta.
It's balanced better. I have to say, like the the Sonic sedan is completely wonky from the back. I drove many miles behind one, and when I was on the Sonic launch, and unfortunately I wasn't behind the hatch. I was behind a sedan, but it really made me see like the sedan version is not balanced.
So are you talking about the 2012 Accent or the previous one? Because I can see how the previous one
the previous
is very much like an Echo or a Yaris.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The new one is.
The new one's curvy.
Yes, it's quite impressive actually.
Elantra Accent. I mean, they're all very sexy.
Yep. The Kia Rio.
Yaris doesn't strike me as sexy in any way, but
it's a car.
Oh, I'm so sad. Yeah, I didn't get invited on the Rio, and that would close my entire subcompact fascination. So
Rebecca Lindland got invited. She can't go, so she shunted it off to me. But it's too soon. I can't be out of the office for Verano in 2 weeks, and for most of next week for Rio. It just wouldn't work. Yeah.
I really want to do Rio.
I like to go see Austin, but
And yeah,
I mean, this is a longtime Kia fan.
If I look at Echo and the previous generation of not Elantra, which am I doing here? Well, Echo is like the sedan Yaris, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
So yeah, the previous gen Accent looks a lot like the Echo to me, but the 2012 Accent, I don't see it. But I mean, styling's a very personal thing.
Any updates on the Kia Forte Coupe? You know, any new engines or something?
I mean, Aaron, you were just in a Forte, right?
I was just in a Forte. I had the Forte sedan that's in our office currently. It's an impressive piece, but I tell you what, I've still yet to drive the Korean car that makes me say, wow, the steering is fantastic. Hadn't happened yet.
Have you drove the Genesis Coupe V6?
Yeah, I've driven the Genesis platform. I think the Genesis steering is just, we drove.
I love the coupe.
It looks great, but the steering feel on all these electric power steering cars is terrible.
Okay, well, I mean, I drove it, and it was probably one of the more comfortable cars I drove that day because I was driving a lot of cars. But
like when I drove the new Genesis Spec R, the top of the line big Genesis sedan.
After you had to drive the Accent that morning?
After I drove the Accent that morning, but I'm driving along in this Genesis, and we're on some of the roads out by Hell, Michigan, and you go around a corner of broken pavement, and the wheel is dancing in my hands. And I just come out of an Audi A7, and just to get into that, it's like, wow.
It's not comparable, right? So, I mean, the Sonic, right? So the Sonic skips around corners like a Fit, which the Fiesta and the Accent don't. Like, the backside just starts skipping around. And I would rather have play in the steering wheel than I would on my back end.
I would agree with that.
I'm not going to touch that comment.
Yeah.
we got you. And Michelle, can I chime in for a second?
Absolutely, Chris. This is Aaron. Aaron, this is Chris. Chris is our he's probably one of the smartest people I know, and so
Oh, wait a minute, you said that about me too. Hang on.
I know. So
well, pleasure to meet you.
Regulars.
You as well, Chris.
He doesn't even work in this industry, and
here's my take on it, because I like to drive the